Hello, guys and girls, and welcome to episode 161 of the FReality Podcast. It's time to squad up and drop into this week's top VR news. We're going to be talking about people receiving their Oculus Quest 2 headsets early. We give you our thoughts on VR Battle Royale game Population 1. Virtuix are coming back with a new VR omnidirectional treadmill. We'll be discussing the future of cinema in VR with our special guest, Darshan from Bigscreen. And to round up the show, Rowdy has got loads of new releases for you to look forward to next week. But for now, let me introduce you to the team and find out what's been their highlight of the week this week. And also let us know what you've been up to in the chat so we can read out some of your highlights too. So first up to the plate, when this guy isn't in VR, he's got to go fast, zooming around the Friesland like a madman. Snathy, how you doing, dude? You all right?
Yeah, dude, I'm fine. I'm a happy man. I finally got my bike, my Super 73 RX,
Yep.
and well, sadly it has been raining for 2 days now. So it's like every time there's like a little glimpse of like sunlight, I'm like, okay, this is it. And then I have like 10 minutes, and I have to go back inside because I mean, the like fall is pretty rough here in the Holland land. It's like like these bikes are like made in California. And then over here it's only raining, but it's a great bike, dude. I do need to be careful because it goes extremely fast, and I'm still waiting for my helmet to arrive, so I just don't want to do anything stupid. Just saying.
How fast are we talking about?
So it's like 50 kilometers per hour. I don't know how much it is but it's actually going like 1 kilometer faster because I'm like weighing nothing. So
yeah.
I'm going above the speed limit of the actual specs for some reason. So when I go like the fastest, I need to hold on to the handlebars, and the rest of me flies behind the bike.
And for those of you that are interested, it's the Super 73 RX.
Yeah, the
right?
RX.
It's the latest model. Yeah, it's pretty sick
It
bike.
goes 50. Is that even legal?
No.
Like.
No, that is not legal. So there are like different modes for it. So if you put it on like
The illegal mode.
it's like private property mode.
Ludicrous mode.
Ludicrous. Yeah, ludicrous mode, you could call it like that. True. But yeah, if you just put it on one of the like you have an app, and if the police, let's say, wants to see how fast it goes, you just put it back to like 25, and then it's fine. Then you're not gonna hear anyone about it. But yeah, you could just drive behind cars in the suburban and just
Keep up with them.
Yeah, that's no problem.
Nice.
While biking, just being a cyclist.
Johnny Wells in the chat says, I should jump in the front and you could carry me like E.T.
I would love to do that. I would love to do that.
We should make that happen sometime.
You would, like Mike, you would also make a great E.T., just saying.
I think so, yeah. If I had a little blanket over my head, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference, I don't think.
E.T. Skype phone home.
That's our Halloween setup right there.
We could go trick or treating, and then we'd
get so many sweets. Yeah,
Amazing.
exactly.
Yeah.
So apart from your bike, have you been up to much in VR this week?
No, not so much. I did of course play some Population 1, something we're gonna talk about later. But besides that, no, because the weird thing is, like, we have been having the Quest for so long that I already got the most out of it by now. I already played everything, I did everything. So I'm just waiting for like the new stuff to arrive, the new content and the new games. Because right now, if you look at the library of what got announced, I mean, yes, there is some new stuff, but overall it's still all the old like catalog. So I want to have some new stuff, some innovation, some refreshing content.
Well, Rowdy will be giving us plenty of those to look forward to at the end of the show, so make sure you stay tuned for that. But let's pass it over then. Next, this guy's GoFundMe campaign for his new processor hasn't gone very well, unfortunately. So now he's going to be starting an OnlyFans account. So if you want to see those sexy ones, who to subscribe to, it's the one and only Rowdy VR. How you doing, dude? You all right?
Yeah, I'm all right. I got a bunch of pictures lined up. Like if you want to see me in a way you've never thought you'd see me before, or maybe you did, then be sure to check that one out.
Yeah, it's just like an Oculus touch controller, covering his
Very
modesty.
naked.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Nice. But you're okay? You got any VR highlights this week?
I'm doing fantastic. Yeah, I've played some VR on the Quest 2 this week as well. I've played some more Solaris, but we talked about that already a couple of times. So I'm not gonna discuss that any further. Also, I managed to try out the Pro Tube for the first time with the Quest 2 with the Quest 2 controllers. They're a little bit bigger, the Quest 2 controllers, so the cups are a little bit different. But yeah, it's still one of my favorite like extensions of the virtual reality of my virtual reality headset. So I really love playing around with that in Onward. And I've also played a 2D game today, and I was again like, every time I play a 2D game or like a regular desktop game, I kind of like VR has spoiled it a little bit for me. Since I immediately wonder like, this would be so awesome if it wasn't virtual reality. And the game I played is the one that is free on the Epic Game Store since this week. It's called Rising Storm 2. Which is set in like the Vietnam War. It's a really, really good and solid title, and it's basically 30v30 or 32v32 multiplayer. So it's a little bit in the line of like what Population 1 is doing, but it's very immersive, which is weird for a desktop game. It's like it's very realistic in a way, and it's a lot of fun to be playing it. So if you want to see a game that you say like, I really want to try this in virtual reality, but you can't, then check out that game.
Nice. And it's free on the Epic Store right now?
This week, yes.
Awesome. Actually, for a Pancake game, I've been playing a really good one as well. So if you're like, you want to waste some time before your Quest 2 arrives and you're looking for a good Pancake game to play, Hades is a really solid one. It's on Steam and it's on Switch. I'm playing it on at the moment. You've got to basically escape hell, and it's a roguelite. So if you like games like Enter the Gungeon or what was the other one, Dead Cells, then you'll love this one as well. It's really good. Voice acting is incredible.
Wouldn't it be awesome if we could have Among Us in VR? Isn't Among Us basically Trouble in Terrorist Town Gmod?
You can play it in Rec Room. There is a way to play it in Rec Room. And I'm sure someone's probably going to make it in VR chat soon enough as well. So if you're interested, that's the way to do it. But yeah, I'd be down for that. If you guys want to set it up, I'd be up for that for sure. But yeah, nice suggestion there, Rowdy. And now our special guest this week, an OG in the VR space, creator of Bigscreen, and all-round nice guy, is Darshan. Welcome to the show. How you doing, dude? You all right?
Good. I'm actually Zim. I just did a little new haircut today.
I was admiring your look. It's a strong look.
Yeah. Just trying to
what
get
to say,
mic level.
That's
Still
what
working
you
on the
do.
beard though.
Yeah, you'll get there, man.
You're taking that Mike fanboyism a bit too far, I have to say.
Yeah.
No, not far enough. Not far enough.
It's solid though. You want to get into VR, you don't mess up your hair anymore. It's great. It's great.
That's why I did it.
You been up to much? You've been playing anything interesting recently? Anything in VR that you want to share that you think is exciting?
Actually, Among Us as well. I've been having dreams about Among Us when I sleep now. Getting to me. My entire YouTube search history, like the recommendations and all that, are just Among Us playthroughs.
It's amazing how that game blew up out of nothing. It was out for almost a year. No one cared. Then people started Twitch streaming it, and then it just blew up, and now it's like one of the most popular games on Steam. That must be so incredible for the developers.
Right?
Yeah.
They canceled the sequel in order to work more on this one.
They did.
Yeah.
Must be a crazy thing. It's the only time that the cancellation of a sequel is a good thing, right?
Yeah.
I think they had 60 million or 80 million people playing it a couple of weeks ago.
That's insane.
Wow. I think
even concurrently.
Wow, that is like nuts. I guess like the pandemic and just people being at home wanting that sort of like, social interaction, and this game being so cheap was just the killer combo that just made it explode. It's amazing.
And it's available on iOS and stuff too, right? So it's not just PC. So friends can jump in really easily, and it's cross-platform.
Right. That makes a lot of sense now. I didn't realize it was on iOS as well. Okay. Yeah,
maybe
that
like
makes
all
a
the
lot of sense.
Fortnite people on iOS. I think it was like 120 million Fortnite users on iOS. I guess they all just went over to.
Yeah, of course. So it could be like a combination of things that just made this game completely explode. That's a really good point. I totally forgot about the whole iOS Fortnite lockout business. That's still ongoing at the moment as well, right?
I think so. It's like in court, and documents are starting to come out now, and data about exactly how things are going down.
Crazy. Who would have thought, app stores monopolizing on things? But maybe we're going to talk more about that later on. Sadly, Zim can't be joining us this week, but he's going to be back with us on the show next week. So if you miss his little face, don't worry. He will be back on the show next week. If you don't know who I am, my name is Mike, host of the show from Virtual Reality Oasis. But before we get into what I played this week, maybe we should find out what the chat have been up to.
That is a very good one. So
should I go for it then?
Yeah, sure, Rowdy, go ahead. Go ahead.
All right.
Go on, Rowdy.
I saw like well, people were a bit complaining about that we were talking about pancake games, so maybe we should stop doing that.
Sorry.
So I saw that Dave the Psycho said that he loves Supergiant game lineups, that he loves Transistor. It's one of his favorite games ever, but I'm guessing that is also a pancake
Transistor.
Game. It is, yeah.
Exactly. And then you know what happened?
No.
People started talking about Cyberpunk. So it's not only us talking about pancake games. The chat is just as guilty as well.
Yeah.
Then I saw Max Fernandez. He played Population 1, of course. Pyro 62 played Dash Dash World. I have never heard of that one. And then I saw The Geek saying Breath of the Wild, Black Mesa, Solaris, Asgard's Wrath. So that's pretty much the entire lineup.
Wow.
And then Virtual VR set playing Squadrons, and I saw a couple of more people mentioning Squadrons as well, such as Sparhawk and Zeus Mao 5. Have any of you played any more Star Wars Squadrons?
I'm so like the last few days I've been just like not playing any VR just because I just wanted to like just reset my mind because I've been so like embedded in it the last 4 weeks. That's why I was playing Hades, but I like Star Wars Squadrons is the #1 game that I'm looking forward to jumping back in and finishing the single player story campaign.
Yeah.
We all actually met up and played on Sunday last week, was it?
True,
after the show. And we played with like PD and loads of other VR content creators. And that was like so much fun. Like when we actually got teamed up with a team
that was like
on our level
of that, and it was brilliant. There was like of the 2 hours that he streamed, he spent about 1 hour and 35 minutes trying to connect. Which
in the
was
menu.
The best
he did.
in the menu.
He did.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened with his lot, but we had a separate group and we were able to get it coordinated and jump straight into a game within like 5-10 minutes.
Or we're just better at troubleshooting.
Maybe. But like when we got teamed up with a team that was like our level, like noobs, then we were like dominating, but we were mainly matched against teams that were way better than us, and we were getting completely destroyed.
So it wasn't I saw something popping up on the internet saying that 15% of the people who play this game are playing it in VR.
Playing it in VR? Yeah, that's an incredible number, right?
Because how many people have played this game so far? Like a couple of million?
I guess so.
I mean, it's EA, so I mean, we're talking millions.
Yeah, but I get, really, I think VR is the way to play this game. I couldn't get.
I've watched like regular streams of it, people playing it just on the desktop version, but it feels so much more confined because those ships have such a limited viewpoint. Some of them don't, but a lot of them do. With like the cockpit, like it's a very limited kind of window. But when you're in VR, you can look around and you get that sense of environment, a sense of presence that I think is so important.
Well, people just don't know any better. So before this is gonna change, people should have at least tried it. I think if of course, the pandemic wasn't a thing and EA was at Gamescom and E3 and all those big conferences and events, etc., and they would have let people try it, then it would have spread more. But now the press had to figure it out by themselves, and I think most people just decide to play it on a pancake screen. Well, we, for example, we played it in VR. We're like, listen, try this out. This is like freaking epic.
Yeah,
it reminds me of
VR as well.
Valkyrie.
Valkyrie,
4 years ago, right? Like, how far have we come since then?
Oh, that's true. Yeah,
in 4 years, we've gone from a fairly small, like limited budget title with a big franchise behind it, but it didn't have the scope and the breadth of what we have now in just 4 years.
Yeah. Star Wars, you can't get any bigger than that, really.
It's the mighty EA considering VR now for the first time ever, right?
Yeah. No, I welcome it. I thought it was great. I think a few people had technical issues, but hopefully they're going to be ironed out over the coming weeks. But yeah, Watto UK said he completed the single story campaign. I think he said he took him 8 to 9 hours, which is great for a game that's really predominantly built around multiplayer. So yeah, solid recommendation there.
People are saying in the chat, by the way, that it was 15% that played it in VR. Is that correct? That number? Do we know that?
Yeah,
that
what
sounds
Nathan
like
said.
a huge number.
Everything on the internet is true, right? So
okay,
I remember reading that
90%.
somewhere.
I
Like,
saw like
Oculus
50%. I don't know, like I didn't dive into like where it came from, but I'm like, if it's
like they say,
50%, it's good.
90% of all statistics on the internet are false.
Yeah, well,
but I remember seeing it as well, so I'm going to back Nathy on this one. I don't know where I read it, but I saw that number 2. So
I also saw it on Twitter. So
there you go.
Yeah, I also just saw it on the internet.
That
must be true.
Then it must be
100%
true.
agreement.
Yeah.
It must be
the fellowship confirms the 15% is true. So the thing I want to highlight this week is something that we mentioned on releases last week, and that was Micro Monsters. So I don't know if any of you guys had the time to check this out.
No.
But basically, it's like a 5-part miniseries filmed in VR 180, presented by the legendary David Attenborough. Each episode is maybe like 5 to 6 minutes long, and they're all available on Oculus TV on Quest. So you just go in there and it'll probably come up as the thing recommended straight away for you, as it's the latest thing on there. But yeah, each episode features like different bugs or creepy crawlies. You've got like scorpions, ants, butterflies, beetles, and of course my favorite, big hairy spiders. And the way they filmed it is like so amazing. Like any of these David Attenborough programs, the way they film it, I always think is like a real technical feat, because somehow they managed to get like VR stereoscopic 3D VR cameras up so close to these little beasts that you feel like you're right up next to them, and it's horrible and terrifying and fascinating all at the same time. And by the end of the 5 episodes, I was just itching all over.
Oh, really?
You know, like when you're seeing like these swarms of ants and they're like building stuff, which is amazing, but there's just so many of them, you couldn't comprehend how many there are. And you just start to feel a bit itchy. Like that's I would say like it's amazing, but if you don't like creepy crawlies or big hairy spiders, then maybe be a bit careful with it.
Did you consider playing this with like your Behaptic suit?
Oh god, you could just imagine them. Like, can you imagine if they did it with like the ants like crawling all over you? Oh, that would be amazing.
And then some smell, like you smell like the mud and the grass. You're like,
like the rainforest.
I'm here. Like it's like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, but in VR.
Yeah,
I
it's amazing.
found several ants in my Quest last week.
Oh my god, can you imagine, dude? Oh, that would make me go
let's
nuts.
take an immersion a bit too far, Darshan. Like it's
like walking over your eye, and you're like,
oh, that's horrible.
It's so real, like.
That's so horrible. But it's amazing to think that David Attenborough, like he's 94 years old now.
Not even 84. Not even 84.
No, but like it's amazing that he's still going. Like hats off to the guy. Like I feel like I want to sleep for a week now. Can't even imagine what he feels like. But if you're also interested, by the way, after watching this like mini series and you want more David Attenborough, there's a new series or a new one-off documentary, I should say, on Netflix right now called A Life on Our Planet. Also really worth a watch. But yeah, you can go and check out these 5 episodes called Micro Monsters, VR 180 3D stereoscopic on Oculus TV on Quest, and just check out the series for free.
So do you think this experience has a fair chance on the store in terms of visibility? Because I usually find these things great, but no one sees them because they're like hidden away.
I think because it's like the latest thing on there and it's such high production values, Oculus have pushed
and it's
it to the
relevant
front,
news-wise.
and it's relevant. Yeah, so I think as soon as you open Oculus TV now, this is kind of the first thing you see. So,
yeah, but it's like I'm talking about like something that lurks you to Oculus TV. So where it's like, oh, there's a banner. Oh, you can watch this now on Oculus TV. But usually, if you never go into Oculus TV, you don't even know that all these gems are in there. Like they should have made an app out of this one, like tested it in a way, you know?
Yeah,
where
maybe
it's
that
just
wouldn't
a
have been a
player.
bad shout. Yeah, that
because
wouldn't
Oculus
have been a bad
TV
shout.
is like you know, diving even deeper down the rabbit hole. So
yeah, but yeah, you know, if you can find it, I definitely recommend.
Well, now we
checking
know.
it out.
Now we know.
Yep.
You're like the banner, the living banner of Oculus.
Exactly. Yeah, I look forward to my paycheck in the post.
Nice.
So that's my sort of highlight of the week this week. I played a bunch of other stuff as well with these guys, but we'll get into Population 1 very shortly. But the first bit of news I want to highlight is that obviously the Oculus Quest 2 will be shipping out to customers next week on the 13th of October. People are getting super, super hyped for it. You know, the Discords are going crazy. The Reddits are going crazy. People are very excited, which is great to see. And a lot of you out there who were very early with their pre-orders will hopefully be getting them on Tuesday or maybe Wednesday next week, which is great. Pre-orders now, if you want to get one now, they're sort of pushed back a little bit. So you're talking about maybe an extra 2 to 3 weeks waiting time now. But hopefully Oculus can start fulfilling those orders and get them out sooner to people. But some people, lucky people out there, have been receiving them early and posting pictures on Reddit. But sadly, they've been asking questions about how to get them up and running. because they can't. The headset is stuck in like an update loop. They don't have access to the new latest update or the working app. And it's basically because it hasn't gone live yet. And this is the same problem we had when the original Quest launched. People got them early. Same deal happened again. They couldn't use them until the update went live. So sadly, you won't be able to use it until the 13th. That's just when the update's going to go live. So just please, I wouldn't pay over the odds to get one early. You know, if someone's offering one early,
Why not?
Well, you're basically going to be sitting on a paperweight until the 13th. So if you can wait until the 13th and walk into a Best Buy and buy one, then that's going to be better off rather than paying double to get one early.
But what if I give you like, behind your back right now, I give you $5 and like, can I use your account for a moment? For
No, that's not going to work.
How much do you want?
Maybe people can come to you. Are you offering that
to my house?
service?
Imagine people lining up at my house to try it for a moment.
Just log in with your account.
Yeah.
But no, I think it's great. We don't have that much longer to wait now, a few more days to wait, but I think I'm really excited for the general public to get their hands on this headset and check it out for themselves and looking forward to seeing what they think about it. Because obviously, some of us have been really lucky to have them early. We've had them like for about a month now, which has been great. That's
crazy.
It's really the public. I'm interested to see their reactions and how they think it is compared to the original Quest and other headsets on the market.
Imagine how much smoke comes out of that factory right now.
Oh, I bet they're absolutely flying right now. Yeah, because from what we understand is that the initial interest in the headset has exceeded Oculus's initial expectations already. So. I think that's a pretty good sign. But what about you, Darshan? Have you been excited for the Quest 2? Have you been using it? What do you think of it so far?
I mean, it's an incredible headset, but I don't have one. So
you don't have one?
No, it's a little unusual. As one of the top VR apps on the Quest, we are being held back. Much like Guy and Virtual Desktop, people, certain developers do not get access to hardware anymore.
They're so strange. It's so strange. And you're right, to mention that Guy Godin, creator of Virtual Desktop on the show previously, he also said that, he didn't get one early to start, making sure that Virtual Desktop works with Quest 2, although, he's already got an update ready in the background and it's ready to drop. Are you guys in the same position, or, you don't have any information about like how to get Bigscreen optimized for Quest 2? Or
one of the good things is that Bigscreen already runs on the Quest. So for Quest 2, there's basically no work we have to do. And a bunch of the folks at Oculus have already tested it super well and said like it runs great, looks great. And plenty of folks have already reviewed Bigscreen on the Quest 2 and said works fantastic. It's awesome. So fortunately, there's not much we actually have to do. But what we'd love to do is to bring some of the really high quality assets that we have on the PC version of Bigscreen and start bringing them down to Quest 2. And one of the big updates we have planned that unfortunately won't be ready for Monday's big Quest 2 launch, but it'll be ready later this fall, is to dramatically increase the size of the rooms, allow Quest users to host rooms, allow an enormous amount of content to be brought in from Quest users. So people will be able to open up their phone, open up a YouTube video in VR for everyone to watch. All of these things are going to be possible thanks to a lot of the improvements that Quest 1 and Quest 2 have received over the past year. But we can't do anything right now until we actually get devices in our hands. A bit of a bummer there.
Like you say, for one of the most popular apps on the store, it doesn't make any sense.
It's politics, right? Like they're not happy when developers talk publicly about issues of the platform. And I've been a bad boy, so.
But and I understand their position, but I think it's also important for people to know, that this is what's happening, and it's one of those things that I'm sure it happens in every industry, to a certain degree. But I think for any change to happen, people need to be aware of it, right? Otherwise, it's never gonna change. And the thing is, like, certainly for you, and we're going to be talking about this more later on, is that for you to run a business going forward, you can't have things go this way. And we're going to get more into that later on if you're interested to learn more about that.
That being said, though, the Quest 2 is freaking incredible. Like, oh my goodness, this is by far the best headset on the market right now, at least in terms of like the capabilities and the price point. The fact that it's one of the best PC VR headsets now too, and it's only $299, and it's the best standalone headset, and the controllers are freaking great. Like, it's a fantastic package. So Any of my criticisms of this is more about the, developer
internal
relations.
politics. Yeah,
the politics and the competition and the, their ethics and principles.
Mm-hmm.
But from like a technical perspective, from like a product perspective, I freaking love it. It's amazing.
Yeah, and
I think we all share that opinion.
We all share that opinion, yeah. And I think, it's good, I think, to talk about this kind of stuff so people are aware of it. I think that's the main thing, so people understand what's going on. But again, we're going to be talking more about that later on. But that is the Quest 2. Don't pay over the odds for one yet. Just be patient. Wait till you get one in the post, or pop into your local Best Buys and hopefully get one on release day. And you can let us know next week how you feel about it. We'd love to know your thoughts about it in the chat, so let us know. Next thing I want to talk about is Population 1. As some of us, like Nathan said, have been taking part in the beta playtests. For the last couple of months now, they've been running them behind the scenes. You could apply to be a beta tester, join their Discord server and give them some sort of feedback on the experience. But we were finally able to jump in and also share video content around the game, which was previously we were unable to do. They kind of dropped the embargo for video. So we made a video with Gamertag VR, and Nathan and I jumped in together. Our plan was to win some chicken dinners and bring it home and show you all how epic we were at these games, but sadly that didn't materialize.
No. Dude, do you remember when this game came out, by the way? Like when they announced it, I mean. It was like around like Gamescom
2 years ago.
2 years ago, when you also showed up on TV or something for some
NVIDIA, yeah, I remember.
You gotta watch that back. Like Mike was so hyped, it's amazing.
But, I was hyped. Yeah,
but they had like new graphics cards. Were those was it the 1080? 1080?
No, that was the 2080 Ti.
Oh, 2080 Ti, yeah, and that's where it got announced. I never thought it would like come out 2 years later.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah,
I remember being pretty skeptical of it, just from like the number of players, the draw distances, like the maps look legit, and I was like, is this like filmed on a PC? And we're like, yeah, it'll run on Quest, but like it's 2v2 or something. But
yeah, and I think that's why it was pushed back so long, was so they could get a Quest build up and running, because they knew how important Quest was, and thankfully, like the game works very well on Quest. 18 players. Was it 6 squads of 3 playing all together in a map? Draw distances are pretty good. So it's amazing what they were able to pull off with the game, but I think that was why it's delayed so long. But I think it was smart to delay it.
Plus the like even delaying it, like usually delaying sounds like a negative thing and is kind of bringing your own product in danger. But in this case, like the overall multiplayer genre on the Quest is like almost non-existent. Like the lack of online games is just insane, even after Population 1 coming out, and because of that, like, they could just launch it whenever, because there is no Battle Royale game on Quest, first of all, and there's also no like real arcadey shooter like this one on the store. So they don't compete with anyone. Plus, I mean, Oculus needs to approve stuff. Maybe some other people also tried to get a Battle Royale game on there, but they were able to kind of pitch the idea.
But also, like, if you think about it, even in terms of PC VR, the Battle Royale games that were like quite popular maybe a year or two ago are kind of dead now. Bullets and more.
Yeah, but who says that this one is not gonna be dead?
Who knows? Who knows? Although I've got confidence in this one, because personally speaking, I think the game is fun. I do think there's things that need to be changed, and maybe we can dive into that a little bit.
I think it's the player base that will keep this game alive, because Quest is going to sell so well.
Also the fact that it's cross-play helps them a lot.
True.
Between PC and Quest, and potentially other platforms in the future. I know they want to bring it to PSVR as well. That will help them out immensely, and also because it's only 18 players, it's a lot smaller, obviously, than like Fortnite. But there is another thing that came out this week, obviously talking about microtransactions. But let's get into the game mechanics first. Maybe you can talk about your thoughts on the game, Nathan. Like, how did you find it? Did you think it was a fun game, or what are the things that you'd like to see changed in the future?
Yeah, so like this game as a Battle Royale title is fun and easy to get into. It's not hard to learn or to master. It's not like Onward meets Pavlov Battle Royale style. No, this is like dumbed down in a way where everyone can jump into it, and I don't really mind that. I think it's welcome. I think there needs to be a game like this on the Quest store that kind of brings people together who are very good at gaming or who aren't, and can just have a great time together. The only thing that I thought was a bit too arcadey is that the grenade, you don't throw your grenade, you just shoot it away. I'm like, come on, you can at least throw it. But I get kind of where they came from with that. And yeah, I mean, like if they can show us a roadmap, because that's the thing. Like they have this now, but it's like, where's the rest? Like, what are you gonna do? What is your plan with this game? Because I don't care about cosmetics. Like, cosmetics are not gonna bring me back. It's definitely new maps, new guns, new challenges, like Fortnite did. You know, Fortnite has reinvented themselves so many times. It's crazy. Yes. And I think that's something they need to show. Do they want me to coming back into this? Because I don't feel like it's getting repetitive, this game, because you constantly want to win, and winning is rare in a way. But I do think after a while you're like, okay, aren't there more guns? Because weapons-wise there isn't that much. And I mean, yeah, it's acceptable for a launch, but overall, there could have been some more in there, you know, in terms of like some weapons or some things that, as I said, like I'm not playing it for the unlocks, at least. It's definitely for the social fun with others.
Yeah. I think, you know, I echo pretty much what you're saying. You know, there's some mechanics in the game that are really fun. You know, like peeling bananas is like hilarious. You know, you have to peel each part of it and then eat it. And then, you know, popping cans open and drinking it is great. Like you say, throwing grenades is just tied to like a trigger pull and just fires like a grenade launcher. And also like the reloading, you know, new mags just hover beneath and you just kind of just have to slide it in and cock the rack. But, you know, it could be more. I think, you know, for me, if it was a bit more involved, like Onward, where you could grab a mag from a pouch and then, you know, if your buddy was low on magazines, you could throw them a magazine, they could catch it and then they could reload. It would create these like really epic in-game moments.
I don't think Big Box wants to create a game like that. If you look at their previous game, you know, Smashbox Arena was also like the same style. So I don't think they're gonna do it. That's why this one is also unique, because as you mentioned, there were some on PC, and those were all, as far as I know, as you said, like, you know, more simulation wise. So this one being new in that, like, I don't think you could have two Battle Royale games on the Quest Store, one being arcade and one being more simulation. I don't think that's possible right now. But I agree, like there is not that much of a challenge when you meet people. You shoot like your ammunition and you quickly reload it, and you don't really have to worry about it. But it would be nice to getting some more space to also fail and be like, oh, I need to learn how to reload this.
Yeah, exactly. I think so. But like you say, it's kind of more aimed at the kind of new sort of player base in VR. But like some people have also mentioned about like sniper rifles being a bit dumbed down. I know Viper wasn't a big fan of the sniper rifles. But I think, you know, other mechanics like the defibrillator, that works quite well. Although players walking around freely in a map once they're dead, I'm not quite sure that particularly works. I think they should be stuck in one place if they're down. And then it makes it a bit more difficult to res your whole team back up again. But, you know, again, I think, you know, the game are going to come out. They're going to get a lot of feedback, and hopefully they'll tweak and evolve the game over time, and it will change into something else eventually.
But even based on the hype, based on what you see, because everything is super positive, is that I would still wait and pretty much demand a roadmap. Because I feel like what they delivered here, content-wise, is kind of, it's not bare bones. It's like slightly above that. But I'm like you can't just be like, oh, so here's a game, it's Battle Royale, and then you can get away with it. I feel like you really need to know what else there is in the pipeline. Because if they fail to innovate, this game gets boring very quickly. Yeah. So
yeah, I think. I mean, I haven't played the game myself because I don't have access yet, but I'm completely in the opposite spectrum on this with you guys. From what I've seen so far, I'm actually fairly disappointed in the game. I just think for a virtual reality game, there needs to be a certain level of immersion, and I think that, you know, the comparison with Onward it's not really valid, because this is not an Onward title, and I think there's a lot of gradations in between Onwards and being a full-on arcade shooter. And there's a lot of things in the game that I feel like that are not properly implemented. Like, for example, the single-holder double-armed rifles. Okay, maybe I'm more of a milsim kind of shooter, but what is the point of having a virtual reality game and having two-handed weapons if you can easily shoot them with one hand? There's no penalty. There's no feeling of weight. The hands just open and close. Like for me, when you say a virtual reality game, I want something that has at least some certain level of immersion. And from what I've seen in the videos, again, I haven't tried it myself, so I can't really, say how it is. I'm sure that it's fun to play it, but it kind of, for me, it feels like a little bit like it's a desktop game that got ported to virtual reality, rather than the other way around, that it's like built up from the ground from VR, because my expectations for this were just way higher. I don't really feel like this is the title that I was promised in the beginning, and I'm not really pleased with the end result of it. And there are cool mechanics, like the defibrillator. I think that is cool, and although the banana is a little bit like I find it a little bit like cheesy to put that in, but I mean, it is at least something different. And there's some level of immersion there, but I think the climbing mechanic is also very disappointing. I don't know how the flying is, but I hope that it gives you at least like some sense of vertigo and speed when you do it. I don't really know because I've only seen it on a screen, but yeah, I don't know. And a lot of the mechanics have been dumbed down to such an extent that yes, it's very easy to get into. But a part of virtual reality is that, you need to do these kind of things. The first time that I played a shooter in VR, you had to pick up a weapon physically and you had to put a magazine in there and then aim it and shoot it. That's what made that unique. And I get it that it's easy to get into, but you don't have to make another Onwards, but at least like give like some kind of, feedback that what you're doing is something that is nice. And of course, like, and that is something personal. That is something that other people probably like. I'm not a big fan of like the hit points and the floating ammo counters and that, but okay, that's a design choice. And I get that is something in there. And like, I play arcade shooters as well, and I love them as well. But at the same time, I had the feeling that there was so much more potential in this title than that was actually being delivered now. That's basically
to me, it sounds like you're just not the target audience they want to go for.
Yeah, and just to reiterate, we're not comparing it to Onward. We just would like some of those Onward mechanics in there to make it a little bit more realistic.
But then you often, because like the community behind it is fairly strong, and they'll probably blast me for saying this, but the thing is, like, you don't need to do all of the Onward mechanics. It doesn't need to be a mill sim, but some of the mechanics that, add immersion to the game would be nice. Be nice to have in a VR game. Like even like the I don't know, but have you guys tested that? If you can move like different fingers on the hand or something like that, or is it literally like just open and close? Because I saw some people like shooting a two-handed weapon and it wasn't even like really gripping on the front end, and I was like, is this not working as well? Also, you can't drop a weapon anymore. It's just bolted to your hand, so you can fling it around like that. Those kind of things, like, I get it, it's easier to get into because you can't drop your weapon, but isn't that like a part of the virtual reality experience, that you should be able to drop something that you hold in your hands?
But I mean, just saying, like in Half-Life Alyx, your guns are also stuck to your hands, and it's one of the most amazing games ever. So like, I don't know, like, to me it sounds like it's
like that's the thing, that's one thing, but this is a combination of things. You have the bolting of the weapon to the hands, you have the throwing of grenades, you have the climbing mechanic. If this was just one thing, I'd be saying, yeah, okay, but like every single VR mechanic in this game has been dumbed down to a level that it's like not really a VR game anymore to me.
But even if you think this, I would still try it, because for me it was more about, having fun with my friends, and the mechanics weren't a deal breaker. Even that I played Onward 2 and Pavlov and the other titles, I thought that this game was unique in its own, and I get the purpose why Big Box is making it this way and why they want to sell it to to a certain audience. I think the new Quest audience is gonna love this stuff. They have no background in Pavlov or Onward, and they're gonna be fine.
I think it's only like us, like VR veterans, that will ever complain about this kind of stuff. I think the people that are new to VR just going to love this to bits. But maybe we should move on to the microtransactions, because we found out that this week that the game will feature microtransactions. And this is a thing that was never really mentioned in any press reviews or any content creators reviews either, because it was never mentioned to anyone prior to it being disclosed on Reddit, which is kind of interesting. So they kind of held this back. And basically we found out that the game is going to feature microtransactions. It's not going to be pay to win, which is obviously good to know. But it is for cosmetic items like weapon skins, character skins, stuff like that, which don't necessarily have a problem with. But it's normally that games that implement those sort of microtransactions are free to play, and then they make their revenue from the cosmetics.
Yeah,
and like Fortnite does, for example.
Yeah, and that's why I want to see a roadmap, because if they get too comfy with making money of the cosmetics, then they tend to not make that many updates towards actual playable things. So like I kind of want to, by their roadmap you can see what their business model is. And now, because of the microtransactions, I don't know where they want to go with this anymore.
Yeah, so basically the game's going to be $30 to buy outright. It is cross-play, obviously, across all platforms. It's not cross-buy, though, so just be aware of that. But yeah, they've then got this like microtransaction model on top of that. Obviously, you don't have to buy some of these skins, but we don't know what the progression is to unlock them naturally. And I think you made a good comparison, Nathie, to like, was it Darth Vader in Battlefront 2 or something like that? You could buy him as a DLC microtransaction, or you could unlock him by natural progression in the game, but it would take you 10 months.
I don't know, like people like checked like how many hours you had to play, and it was like above like even a normal standard, and they just knew that people weren't going to. And of course it's gonna be slow in some way. I mean, I play Rocket League myself, and if I don't buy the battle pass, I'm not leveling at all. It goes super slow. But with them, it's like they are not completely transparent, and the fact that they let the press play the game, they don't tell them anything about microtransactions. They wait until they publish their videos and then they announce it. That's just showing that they were scared for some backlash. I think that's massively shady. I think that's slightly burning some bridges. I talked about this on the podcast, saying that EA usually does this, right? Where they roll out Star Wars Squadrons, and then a couple of months later they come with microtransactions. But of course, every video has no trace of that, so an average consumer is gonna think like, oh, it's a fine game, right? So yeah, I thought that was a move that they shouldn't have done.
But it's
smart, but it's also like next time when they make a game, I'm gonna think twice about even covering it in the first place.
Yeah.
So,
and I personally have a big issue with any kind of microtransactions, just from a psychological point of view, because people always say, oh, you don't have to buy them, and that is true. That you don't have to buy them. They're not aimed at 99% of the people that are playing these kind of games. They're aimed at the 1% of people that massively spend a lot of money on these kind of transactions in order to stand out, or in order to to be different or whatever. And I just generally find that really bad practice, and it really put me off a little bit of the entire game and the intention of it, because even if it's just cosmetics, it's I don't know. I whatever.
Not a fan. Yeah, fair enough. No, that's fair.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is Population 1. I think overall, I think Nathan and I think it's a fun game.
Yeah.
Would probably improve from like some more involved sort of VR mechanics.
Exactly.
And we're not a massive fan of the microtransactions either. But
they need to prove themselves a little more. I feel like based on this, there is some content, but I don't know. I'm not completely sure where this is heading to.
I do feel that regardless of our thoughts on the game, I think it's going to be extremely popular when it comes out.
But that's Quest. That's Quest in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it'll be interesting to see how it develops over time and how the game evolves, and if they can keep it fresh and interesting for players.
The thing that I just want, I don't hope that because like the massive success that Quest brings to Virtuality, that we see a diminishment in like these VR integrations, and like, because that's the thing that got us initially involved into VR, and I'd be sad to see that go away.
No, but it's not gonna go away. It still needs to like happen in the first place. They're right now they're trying to get people into VR. So it's not even about those mechanics yet. Like those mechanics are maybe getting something, people demanded like 5 years. Like, okay, listen, I've been playing for years now. But I feel like right now Facebook is more focused on getting people in VR, and then the party games are fine. I think the party games can hold people, into VR for a while.
And we know from Quest that we kind of need to go backwards before we can go forwards.
Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
And I think that's going to happen with with the game design as well.
But honestly, even Population 1 doesn't feel like it's backwards.
I still think it's a fun game. I still think it's a fun game. Yeah.
I'm sure it's a fun game. It's just things that I would like to see different.
Yeah, sure.
If you're a VR enthusiast,
it's a VR game.
Listen, if you're a VR enthusiast and you're in the bubble, just like flip that switch in the back of your neck and put it on consumer for a moment, and you bought like your Quest for the first time. Dude, everything is amazing. And everything is going to be amazing for the upcoming 2-3 years. And then you're like, wait, is there more? And that's where people start to ask questions.
It reminds me how there's like this whole spectrum of something from Rec Room and just paintball in Rec Room. Like years ago, like that's still like laser tag and paintball, like really, really basic concepts are incredibly fun still. Minus like maybe the screaming or something, but then you have like on the exact opposite end of the spectrum, Onward, and that's still also really incredible and fun. They're like such.
But my point is that there's a lot in between there. That it's not just either Onward or arcade simulation shooter. There's a lot of things in between there, and that's what I would like to see. I'm just glad that spectrum
exists. So like we have for choice in terms of like what do you want, and there's a lot of people coming into Quest these days who are like under 16, under 13 probably even, and maybe the mil sim category. I'm glad it exists. I'm glad we have the horsepower on these devices to pull that level of interaction off, like grabbing a magazine, handing it over. But I'm also glad like people can enter in without needing that level of complexity, so they can still have fun and scream in our ears.
Well, absolutely.
So that was our hot topic.
Well, if you're interested in picking up Population 1, it's coming out on the 22nd of October, so not much longer to wait, and it's going to be $30
do we get
to buy. So
do we also get a discount from you, like they do at Fortnite, like this?
No creator codes, unfortunately.
No? So if I buy a skin and I do it through you, it's not...
No, sadly not, no.
Okay, sadly not.
Right, next bit of news is about... the original Omni directional treadmill from Virtuix called the Omni. It's making a comeback. Did you guys expect this? I remember this. This is like, Darshan, I remember this. He was there. We were all there. When we had pre-ordered our Oculus DK1s, we were thinking, what can we get for this headset? What's the next exciting thing? We're looking at the STEM system, we also were looking at the Virtuix Omni.
Did the STEM ever ship?
No.
Okay.
It never shipped. We were talking about Denny from Cloudhead Games a few weeks back, and he was saying that he was one of the few that actually got to demo it. But no, it never actually shipped, I don't think.
No, this like this Omni, it was like all over the place, it was on YouTube, and I remember seeing videos of this guy playing GTA and playing Battlefield with his treadmill. Like they used far backs to really hype people up. They really knew what people wanted,
Yeah, that's it. And back then, because it was like the DK1 was 3 degrees of freedom, you didn't have 6 degrees of freedom. You didn't really have room scale VR. So the idea of a treadmill kind of was really appealing to everyone. A lot of people, including me, got really hyped for it. Yeah. I couldn't afford to buy one, but I was really interested in it. And I was super interested in treadmills right up until the second I tried one. And then I was like, oh my God, what is this garbage? This is terrible.
What did you try?
So I tried the Omni, the original Omni. It was at Gamescom 2 years ago, and
Ball Crusher, right? That's how it was called.
Yeah, because you had to wear this little harness, and I remember getting strapped into it and trying this a horror shooter game, which was kind of fun. But I just remember feeling it didn't feel like I was running. It didn't feel like I was walking. It felt like I was sliding around in a bowl. I was like Bambi on ice.
It's you being at the Olympic Games, and I'm throwing you on the ice, and it's like this puck,
and you were brushing it.
Yeah, exactly. Like that. Yeah. It's so you feel. That's exactly. Actually honestly, that does kind of describe it. Yeah.
Yeah. But sadly, it wasn't the experience that we wanted. It doesn't mimic the feeling of running or walking in real life particularly well. It feels very fake. So therefore kind of defeats its purpose from the beginning of simulating that kind of feeling. So then ever since then, I've been very skeptical of treadmills. And, we mentioned this before on the podcast. Rowdy did a whole segment on why VR treadmills aren't the future. If you're interested, go and check that out. It's one of our most popular clips on the channel, actually. So go check that out. But then we mentioned this again when Catwalk, did a Kickstarter campaign a couple of months back. Hugely successful campaign, $1.6 million in funding. So they did incredibly well. We kind of thought that maybe that a lot of that money went to arcades, maybe, or from arcades,
military,
buying multiple units. But yeah, it seems like now that Virtuix maybe saw that response to that Kickstarter campaign and said, hey, the consumer market are interested in treadmills again. Let's give it another shot.
Because Virtuix has a military contract, right? With their previous Virtuix Omni, they have.
I believe so. Yeah. I think that was the rumor that they went that way after the Kickstarter campaign. But it looks like they're bringing a new product out. and this is going to be called the Virtuix Omni One. And this is kind of like a bit of a slimmed down version of their original Omni, a bit more sort of home friendly, I'll put it that way, a bit like the Catwalk Mini, that you can kind of like collapse it down. You could store it under a bed or something like that. I think that's the whole idea around the new design. But the interesting thing is they're not going to be doing a Kickstarter campaign this time around. They're offering individuals to invest in the company via a website called seedinvest.com. Now, Darshan might be more sort of familiar with this kind of stuff, like seed investments and like that kind of stuff. It's a bit above my head.
Wait. So you're selling a treadmill to consumers, and you want the consumer to invest into your...
Well, so let's get this clear. So like the consumer product will be released in Q2 of 2021. And the price apparently is going to be $1,995 US, which includes a VR headset, the Omni One itself.
Oh, a headset too.
A headset as well,
That's nice.
Headset as well.
And apparently maybe some software.
So is it a custom headset that they're making for this?
Well, they're not clear on that. In the trailer, they show it with the Pico Neo 2, which, okay, great.
Is that like the official headset? Like only one works with it. You can't use it with a Quest or something.
They're not clear about it. I think that's the problem.
Wait, like the treadmill itself.
Johnny Wells in the chat asked if it also comes with magic beans.
Well, you'd think so at this point, because in the trailer they show it with the Pico Neo 2 and some zombie shooter that we've never seen before, which is weird marketing from their perspective. You'd think you'd wear it with the Quest 2 and you'd play Half-Life Alyx or something.
Especially after they played like Battlefield 4 and other stuff with it. I'm like, what the heck?
But basically on this seedinvest.com, when I went and checked it out earlier, you can invest a minimum amount of $1,000 up to $50,000 US. But you only get a free Omni if you invest over $20,000 US. So this is mainly for investors right now that want to invest in the company. Like maybe Darshan can maybe explain how this works. Is seedinvest.com for like the average Joe to invest in this company, or is this like, how does that work?
So in general, raising capital in order to build your business from public people, meaning like non-licensed investors, like the average person, has not really been possible or legal until the past couple of years. And a lot of this is good protection for the consumer, because you don't want, some random person to put out a product and be like, trust me, like it's a self-driving car. And then people start like investing in the company without any sort of like, investment knowledge and, vetting of the truth and whatnot. So there have been a lot of protections over the past few decades for the consumer. But now that's starting to actually open up, because, there's a lot of information on the internet now. Like we can make our own intelligent decisions about whether or not to invest in a company. And that's awesome, because if you can get into the company really, really early on and you make some really smart bets, that could be financially a game changer for you and your life if you can get in really early, right? That's why like a lot of financial growth for people is coming from making like investments in companies really early on, and not necessarily when the company's already going public. In many ways, they've already made it now. Like you missed out on the chance to invest in them. So I think that's pretty cool. Like as a concept in general, it's growing in popularity, and I think the challenge is, what are the kinds of companies that are raising money? Because oftentimes the best companies, the companies that are really awesome investments, they're going to be able to go and raise venture capital from, extremely experienced investors. Like look at Oculus. They did a Kickstarter, but they also went and raised venture capital from some of the best investors in the world in order to build their business. And then they got acquired by Facebook 3-4 years later. So there's kind of this question in my mind of like, what are the kinds of companies that are coming out, and are they also venture backed? Do they have other sources of capital? Is this really meant to be kind of like hey, we want to give people in our community the chance to invest and be a part of this journey, maybe give developers and content creators and users a chance to, you love the product, well, you can also like ride along with us. And if we succeed, like you succeed too. Or is it the case of like, we couldn't get money anywhere else, so how about you?
Yeah.
That being said, I don't know anything about the company.
But that's what every company has done who's trying to sell a VR treadmill. There is no one who said like, oh, we already made them and we got everything sorted, so here you can have one here. But that's not how it works. Everyone seems to be kind of, even Cat VR, like they did kind of the same trick there.
Yeah, they're also trying to sell an online subscription model of like a platform called the Omniverse, which is $15 a month subscription service for some like games that are optimized for the Omni. But if they're the kind of games that they're showing in the trailer, like this rubbish-looking zombie shooter, then I think you can forget paying $15 a month.
Wait, so you already pay like so much for this treadmill in the end,
and then you also
wow.
It's rough. And you thought microtransactions in Pop 1 were bad. Like this is on another level. Yeah. So like, you know, I can't
get excited. You gotta pay to hop off. Like it's just gonna be like constantly spinning.
Yeah.
Like if you ever want to stop, like you better pay.
It's like an ever moving hamster wheel that you can't get off until you pay. Yeah, that would be genius. So yeah, although it's kind of interesting they're bringing a new product to the table, the way they're doing it is a very strange way. I think they would have been better off just doing a Kickstarter campaign like the original one.
But this is not aimed at consumers, right? It can't be.
Well, yeah,
like
it is. No. Like this is just investment right now. Obviously, it's not like you're not paying 20 grand for a product. Yeah. It's going to be 2,000 when it launches, but this is just so you can invest in the company.
Even that amount. Like,
well, the trailer at least shows that the people who made this do not know what playing VR games is.
I think they like you say, they did the marketing on the original one, they got it on point, but this one they kind of like dropped the ball.
Yeah, it's like Pico Neo. First of all, hey, no offense, great headset, but Pico Neo, well, you could also get like a Quest or a Valve Index or some like showing different headsets. But I think that's the headset you're gonna get with it. I don't know what else they're gonna give you. And then as you said, the game was like the most sad game I've ever seen. Sorry, but
yeah. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with this one.
Obviously, I do want to try it. Like same with Cat VR. Like I had kind of like the same feeling about that. I'm like, listen, can I try it at least? And they were welcome. They said like, sure. So even with Omni, I'm like, I already told them I was like, I want to try it. But I'll just give my opinion, just like I did with Cat VR.
I think the issue here is like there's too much missing information. Like I'd be happy to support a company like this if they did demos. They had one game or just one demo that showed this is the type of content that you can experience if you had something like this. And now we're going to go build like this developer ecosystem and like integrate it with a bunch of cool content or custom games. Maybe games that don't work on the Quest, whatever.
Exactly.
But missing.
Yeah, but as I said, it's a VR treadmill. They're hiding it because there's nothing more to show. This is it. This is what you're gonna get.
It's still the slippery base, right? That's still the design to go with. The problem with that is that as long as you don't really have feedback going in, that simulates walking feedback.
Okay.
Then you don't really get the feeling that you're walking. It's more like a new way of walking. You really need to spend some time learning into this. But it will never really simulate, the feeling that you have when you're walking. I think that is the problem just a little bit with this kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
This looks just like Ready Player One. Like you remember like IOI where you have like a 200 like like army people and they're all I think it's something that looks exactly like this.
Yeah.
Maybe they're all invested in that. All those 100 people in IOI. maybe that's where they come.
It does look like that. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they go when it finally releases to the public, especially with Catwalk being their competition now.
The real question will be, will Bigscreen get treadmill support? Because that's what we are all looking forward to.
There you go. What about it,
Darshan? It's confidential.
Confidential.
To disclose at this time.
So
but if you invest, then maybe.
Wait. I have an idea for you. You should make a feature where if you're on the treadmill, if you want to skip through the video, you need to walk faster or slower, and
or you power the projector going in by running. Yeah.
It's like some sort of new like fitness thing. Like in order to play the video, you have to run.
You have to run.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, we sold it. We sold it.
Workout.
That's the killer
feature.
Do a Lord of the Rings
marathon, and your legs be like this.
Yeah, true.
Virtuix, you know who to contact. You'll never be skipping leg day when you want to watch your favorite team.
We're for hire.
Exactly. Anyway, that is the Virtuix Omni, bringing a new omnidirectional treadmill called the Virtuix Omni One. It'll be available to consumers Q2 2021, $2,000. So there you go. If you're interested, go check it out.
Okay.
Last bit of news. Interesting if you're into horror VR games, which we know Nathie is a big fan of.
Oh, yeah.
And this is because one of the most scary horror genres is coming to VR, and that is the Blair Witch Project.
Oh, God.
This is insane. This dropped like the information dropped around this week. This comes from the same team that brought us Layers of Fear in VR, from a team called Bloober Team. The Pancake version, which they also made of the Blair Witch, has done pretty well actually on Steam. It released about a year ago. It's got mostly positive reviews on Steam at the moment, with players saying that it kept them on the edge of their seat for the roughly sort of 6-hour story campaign. And they said that the story was pretty engaging and interesting, and they wanted to sort of see it out to its conclusion. If you're interested in the story, it sort of takes place in 1996 when a young boy disappears in the Black Hills Forest near Burkittsville, Maryland. And you play Ellis, a former police officer with a troubled past, and you join the search. And the thing is, like, what turns out to be like an ordinary investigation around a missing boy turns into like an endless nightmare as you confront your fears and the Blair Witch itself in a mysterious force that haunts the woods. But what I thought was really, really cool about the trailer, and we've talked about this again on the show previously, is that you're not alone through this ordeal. You've got like a little sidekick dog with you called Bullet, which I think is awesome. I think it's totally awesome. Yeah, he's your little dog companion.
Yeah. It's so again that level of immersion that you get by being with someone, right? And the interactions with that.
Yeah, and we've said this before, like in Robinson the Journey, when you've got a little dinosaur, Falcon Age, you've got your bird, you've got these kind of AI companions, and they're really, really compelling to have in a VR game where you can interact with them with your own hands and, and use them as in-game mechanics. Yeah. Super smart. So this is why I'm very excited about this now. So you guys looking forward to this one? Are you a fan of the Blair Witch, or are you a fan of horror games in VR?
Very much. Like I saw, by the way, in the chat, Nigo Loto saying, at least the graphics already look horrific. Like
they kind of do.
It's not the prettiest game to look at, I think.
True.
But I love the movie. The original movie of the Blair Witch.
Not the new one. Not the new one.
Is there a new one?
I didn't even know
there was another movie, like a newer. It was based on the Blair Witch. I don't remember the name, but
yeah. No, I remember watching the original.
Am I a fan of trying this out of VR? No. Like
no?
Hell no. No, like this kind of stuff in VR is just like, it's too much. It's just too much. I already know, like, the movie was proper scary, and if they go a little bit in that same direction, like someone is gonna die. Someone is gonna die from a heart attack while playing this game.
Rowdy, you need to man up, son. What about you, Nathan? What about you? You gonna be in this?
Oh, is that a live stream confirmed, Mike, from beginning to end?
Come on, like you know I'm gonna play this game on video. You know I'm gonna play it.
Yeah, but live stream beginning to end. All right, got it.
Sure. Well, not on the Quest. I'm not going to live stream on the Quest because it's horrible to live stream with. But I'll make a video for sure. Yeah, for sure.
And then you wear the haptic suit so you can feel the ghost trees that you see in the trailer tickling your back.
What about you, Nathan? Are you going to do that?
No.
No. What about you, Darshan? Are you a fan of VR horror games?
That's a no.
Wow.
Okay, how about this? I will be convinced if you do a live stream where you're sleeping in a VR headset overnight, all on camera.
In a forest.
In a forest. Like you go camping or something.
Yeah,
and you
that
wake
would be
up,
awesome.
And when you wake up, the game starts.
Do you know what? Like actually recording a video like this in a forest would be so epic that you would have to set up infrared lights for it to work. But that is possible. You could get it to work. Maybe I should consider this. And then I'll make an epic Blair Witch video.
Don't you bring the forest to your studio? So you just pack bags full of leaves and then you put them in your studio.
Got to do it outside in the dark.
Why don't you actually go to the Blair Witch forest?
Right, where is it? Maryland? Yeah, that's like...
Dude, I watched like a video about someone who was like hunting down like movie locations, and the house was still there for a while after the movie. Wow. And so like all the handprints were on there and all these weird scribbles and stuff. It's like extremely creepy.
Well, there you go. Maybe I'll do an epic video. The game is going to be releasing
brown pants, Mike.
Well, I'm wearing them now already.
I know.
Just talking about it. So
right. Yeah.
There you go. The game is releasing on the 29th of October for $30 and will be a timed exclusive for Oculus Quest and will be coming to other VR platforms in the future.
Timed exclusive? Dang it.
Timed exclusive
Not
for Quest.
Again.
No.
Why?
Quest wins.
Oh.
Everyone loves the Quest.
Yeah, apparently.
Yeah. So yeah, if you're a fan of VR horror games, it's going to be the one, I think. It looks very good. So I'll keep you posted.
Yeah, no
I'm gonna
comment.
do a little video in the woods if I ever make it back.
Nice.
I wonder how many quests will be destroyed, what's the liability here?
Yeah, people are just like ripping it off and just throwing it on the floor. Yeah, probably. Yeah, that's why you need like a little mat, a little rubber mat. You'll be safe. Keep your headset safe. But yeah, that is Blair Witch Project. So that is all the news this week. So now it's time to talk to our special guest, Darshan, about Bigscreen. So if you've got any questions for Darshan about Bigscreen or just about VR in general, because he's been there since the very beginning, 84 years.
84 years ago.
You can ask him anything you want about VR and how it started. He was there. He saw it firsthand.
He knows.
And maybe we should start actually with that. Like, how did this all start for you? Like your origin story prior to getting into Bigscreen and where it is today, because it's been a crazy ride, right?
It has. I had hair when I started, so if that tells you anything.
Don't go into VR development, people.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't do it. I've got like gray hair now and everything. It's great. No, I started way back in like probably 2012, 2013, right when DK1 was announced and all that. And that triggered everything because in 2010, I started my first company and we were building like networking infrastructure and developer tools, a very, very technical engineering focused company here in San Francisco in California. And when VR came out, it was like, this changes everything. Everything else I had done before VR felt very incremental. It was like, all right, we're taking something here and we're going to make it like slightly better. But with VR, everything felt like anything you did was going to be 10 times better than the like non-VR version.
Yeah.
And like growing up, I've always wanted to get into game development, but I've never done game development. Like, I mean, I've made like little things in like Game Maker or something like way back in the day, right? But nothing serious. And I've always wanted to get into this stuff. Like I probably downloaded Steam in 2002, 2003 or something.
Oh, is that was it was like mandatory when you bought like Half-Life or something?
When you bought Half-Life, yeah. So now, 15 plus years later, it's like we have a game on the Steam store. That's freaking cool. Yeah, so like my life dreams are coming true with VR, getting to like ship a game on Steam or an application, right? Like ship some content on Steam, and to work in VR is just mind blowing. I've lost a little bit of it, like because now it's just so normal. I'm like, of course it's like this, but still every once in a while when I jump into a Bigscreen or even another VR app, it's like, this is actually working. So what got me started with all of this is in 2014, when I first started, actually 6 years ago, exactly like around this time frame, like October 2014 was when I started working full time on Bigscreen. It was just me in my studio, just building this stuff, building a game for the first time, using the Unity engine for the first time, learning C++ and all that stuff. And what I wanted to do was to really explore non-gaming uses of VR, because I think VR and AR, it's not just about gaming, and that's not why Facebook bought Oculus, for example. It's going to change how we do everything in our lives. In 20, 30 years, VR and AR will probably replace our monitors, our computers, probably our phones even. And I think that's why Facebook cares so much about this, because this is how Facebook is going to probably disrupt Google and Apple and their dominance in smartphones. So I was really interested in non-gaming use cases. How are we going to use our computers? How are we going to be able to play games together, watch movies together, collaborate together, everything that we're doing with computers today, and how to make that a social experience, and what can we do with that? So launched the first version of this in 2016, raised a bunch of venture capital. We raised about $3 million from Andreessen Horowitz and True Ventures.
Wow.
Hired our first employee, and then started building the company in 2016. Right out of the gate, we had a ton of people using it. We were probably like top 5, top 10 on Steam at that point in VR in terms of usage. And it's been that way ever since then for the past 4 years. We've still kind of maintained a pretty large user base and just keep growing quietly just keep growing. For people who don't know, we've raised venture capital. That's how we've built our business. That's how we've been able to hire people and kind of operate and do all the licensing deals we've done since then.
Right, because the app's free.
The app's completely free, completely free to use. And Andreessen Horowitz, for example, is the investor that early on invested in Oculus even, before they got bought by Facebook. So the goal here isn't actually just cinemas. We've been focused kind of heavily on marketing the whole movie watching use case. But really our interests are across the whole spectrum. What can we do with VR that's going to change everything about how we use our computers, how we work together, and all of that. But over the past couple of years, a lot of our focus has been, at least publicly, on movie watching, because the headsets today aren't really that great in terms of like a monitor replacement. They're still pretty low resolution. I can't wear them for 8 hours a day. My limit is about 2.5 hours. Beyond that, it gets pretty bad. So for that purpose, we've focused a lot of our attention on what can still work well today, as opposed to trying to build something that'll be great like 4 or 5 years from now. We're focused heavily on 3D movies, for example, because that's something that VR gives you that you can't really get just on a normal TV at home. And that social experience of watching videos with your friends is something that, especially during quarantine and stuff, just exploded. So it's been cool to focus on some of those use cases over the past few years, and over the next 6 to 12 months, especially with Quest 2 coming out. The resolution of these headsets is finally getting to the point where you're going to start to see us focus even more on the non-movie use cases, so that you can do everything from YouTube and Netflix and 3D movies that we are selling, to even playing video games on your Quest, like Among Us, right? Streaming Among Us from your PC so that you can play it on your Quest with a bunch of your buddies around the world. And we're going to even get into some of the remote work use cases, like virtual offices and how to do those things. In fact, that's what got me excited about this in the first place. The very first version of Bigscreen is called HQ VR, headquarters. But that was a terrible name, so I changed it to something more like broad and applicable to Bigscreen. But next year we'll do a lot more of the productivity stuff.
Yeah, it's been interesting to see how the application has evolved over the years, and maybe you can talk about like the transition from like PC VR to then when the Quest launched, and the kind of struggles that came with that, because now back then we weren't sure whether the Quest was going to be as popular as it is now. Obviously now we know that it's like it's huge, and Quest 2 is going to be even bigger, so it's like it's really worth investing all your time and effort on the Quest platform. But back then it was a bit of a gamble, right?
Yeah, because back then, in 2016, when Bigscreen first launched, there was the Rift, CV1, and the Vive. That was it. And the market was wide open. By 2017, we had Windows Mixed Reality come into the picture, and a few more entrants in the space. But the Oculus Go was announced, like it was coming off maybe in the future. Gear VR was there, but yeah, back then, like mobile VR had just no real usage. There was like 10 million Samsung Gear VRs, but they were all like in a closet, right? Like basically nobody would actively use them. So now the market's changed so much, and I think standalone VR is proving itself that it can also be the best PC VR headset at the same time. And that really changes the game, but it puts a lot of pressure on Bigscreen because so much of our history is built on the Windows platform. And standalone VR is really a closed platform. There's so much less horsepower. A lot of the capabilities don't even exist there. Mike, earlier you said something about how, with Quest we have learned you have to take a few steps back first before you can really move forward. Yeah. And that hit me. I was like, wait, that's Bigscreen. I've experienced exactly that, where our Quest version for the past year and a half has been pretty terrible when you compare it to our PC version. It's just so hard. The amount of work it takes to build out features and functionality and get it to run extremely well on the Quest, it's taken years of effort. We're a tiny team. We're just 10 people. We're not like a 100-person studio that can like churn out tons of stuff. Like VR is just not there yet, right? So over the next 6 months, Quest will finally get a Bigscreen on Quest. Will finally be as capable, like feature for feature, as our PC version is.
Right.
And that's going to really, I think, open things up. For us, we've poured in years of effort to just make Quest as good.
And is that due to the power of the XR2 chipset in Quest 2 that makes that possible?
Not really. It's actually just time, more than anything else.
Right.
Time to figure out the right ideas, the right ways to even implement it. Like, how do we get YouTube to work on Quest?
Right. So this is updates across the Quest platform. It's not just like, oh, this will be optimized for Quest 2. It's just like we're going to be improving Quest 1 and Quest 2.
Correct. Because almost everything that we do, we're a completely cross-platform application. Like next year, we'll probably be on PlayStation VR as well. So anytime we think about development, we think about it from cross-platform and from social from the very beginning. Meaning, when we try to put out a feature, we really want it to work great for any user on any platform, regardless of when they're coming in. And in our past, we haven't always been able to deliver on that. That's usually been technical constraints that we take 2-3 years to work around. The eventual goal, and early next year, you're going to see that regardless of what headset you come in on, you're going to be able to have tons of capabilities. You won't feel like, oh man, I'm on Quest, I can't even create a room, this kind of sucks, I'm out.
Right.
You're going to have so much more capabilities.
That's awesome to hear. That's awesome to hear. Because like, you know, from speaking to you regularly over the past like couple of years, you know, the main focus has been like getting movie studios on board and showing like movies experiences in big screen with like ticket prices. You know, you could sell tickets to people, they could go to a movie showing. How has that sort of, since that's launched, how has that been going for you? And particularly around, like you said, COVID, you know, saw the explosion of social interaction and social VR. Has that sort of boosted things as well for you in terms of ticket sales?
Yeah, it's definitely boosted things. We have a couple challenges here. So let's start with like, why do we even do the movie stuff to begin with? Movies, as I mentioned before, are like one thing that we do. At the end of the day, we just want to offer the best screens in VR and make everything a social experience. Whether you want to play games or watch movies or watch YouTube, we just want to offer a really great place to hang out with your buddies and do that. Whether you want to sit by yourself in a massive theater and play games, or you want to hang out with your buddies and watch Netflix, regardless, we just want to do a great job of that. Thing is, there's no place on the internet right now for you to really watch 3D movies with your friends.
Yeah.
And that's the only reason why we needed to partner up with the movie studios, because you can't go on Netflix and watch 3D movies right now. And personally, I think that's such an incredible visual experience that we wanted to create the legal, licensed, frictionless, easy way to do it. So you can come into Bigscreen, click one button, just pay and watch a movie. You don't have to, you know, figure out other ways of like buying a Blu-ray, ripping it, transcoding it, and there's a whole mess of things, right? You don't want to spend 2-3 hours
especially because 3D in VR is so much better than 3D if you go to the cinema, right? Because you can actually project two different images to each eye, which is an amazing thing.
Correctly.
Yeah, exactly. Because when you try 3D in big screen, it's way better still than when you try 3D in a real cinema.
Dude, trust me, yeah. I've once watched a 3D movie in the cinema. I was sitting all the way on the front in the left corner. I was like, oh, is this still 3D? What am I even looking at right now? So yeah, you're right. Like you can sit wherever you want in VR and still have the best seat.
Yeah, my first 3D movie, or one of my first, was Avatar, and I was also same thing, sitting all the way up front because I was late.
And it's Avatar. Oh my god.
Oh man, I had a headache after that. It was not great. It's darker in the cinemas, right? Like a 3D movie usually isn't as bright. So VR is, in my mind, is clearly the future of how we're going to watch some of the biggest blockbusters already. Yeah. The only thing is, you know, resolution hasn't really been there over the past few years, but that's catching up. Every 18 months, the resolution of these headsets is getting better. Better and better.
Yeah.
So
we had actually a question from the chat regarding that as well, because of course, when you talk about big movie studios, you need to license it for specific countries. Do you have any plans into like, you know, licensing to other countries? Because we had, for example, Show Game asking, are you planning on doing any movie screening in countries like Belgium? It's locked in this country. Will it ever be accessible to other countries?
Yeah, so that's been one of the challenges. We're a tiny team. Like, you know, people on the team are doing everything from finance to business development to get these deals, to writing code and marketing. And the amount of work we have to do to pull this off is insane. It would typically be a 50 to 100 person company, and we just have to do it all ourselves. And that's why everything that we want to do takes a little bit longer, and we have to fight a little bit harder, and we have to do a lot more convincing, because most people in the world aren't convinced that VR is even worth paying attention. So how do you walk up to a movie studio that you don't know and have never done business with in an industry that isn't exploding and be like, please, can we have some movies?
Some movies.
So in order to do that, it takes years and years to build those relationships, to convince them, and it costs a ton of money for us, right? Like for Facebook or someone big, it's just like, all right, drop in the bucket. Just like, you know, we're Facebook, just, we want your movies, like just hand them over, let's go.
But I would imagine since COVID, right, that maybe that conversation is easier to have, because movie theaters across the world are like struggling right now. And you know,
it's the only way to still watch a movie in a theater is to do it in big screen at the moment.
Well, this is the thing, you know, like I would pay really good money to see like Tenet right now, or like the new James Bond movie, without having to go to a movie theater. And you know, I would even pay double, because you know, I just want to see the film. And if there is a way to get that in big screen, but I'm sure those conversations are happening right behind the scenes.
So that's exactly right, which is after COVID, we've been having conversations with studios for the past 2-3 years. And after COVID, some of those conversations finally clicked. Typically, a business deal like this takes about 2 years to go from start to finish. It doesn't happen overnight. And some of those deals really got accelerated. Yeah. So in about a month, we're going to announce some of the movies that you want and have been hinting at. And movies that we've talked about in the past, they will be coming to big screen so that you can watch them by yourself or with your friends, including some of the biggest blockbuster movies that have been released this year. But one thing that I learned with COVID was that the movies tend to go to all the digital distributors all at the same time. It's very hard for studios to say, we're going to give VR, which is a really tiny user base, our biggest blockbuster of the year before we give it to anybody else. Because they're never going to make, if it's someone like Amazon, they're going to be like, we'll pay you $100 million or $500 million to just buy the rights to Tenet so no one else can have it. VR is like, here's like $500,000, the money just doesn't even add up. It's nowhere even close.
So relevant enough.
It's not there yet. One day I think it will be, but we're just not at that point. I think we're all seeing the future and we know where it can go, but it just hasn't quite happened yet. So our best chance and what we have been working on since COVID is to make sure that when a major blockbuster comes into the home, that you have choice. You can choose between Amazon or YouTube or the 3D version at big screen all on the same day. So you have that selection.
It is going to be great to see you guys bringing more stuff to Europe and also other places. Also not because of only big screen then being more worldwide, but it's also because other apps on the store are all US focused. If I want to use Oculus venues, I can watch some deep sea live streams and great, but most of the time it's all US focused. So if you would be the first, even if it would be 2 movies, then you're already in the lead. It's super easy because we here, we can barely watch anything.
That's one of the biggest things. Mike knows I've been struggling with this for at least 18 months now. It's been such a tough fight because multiple studios will own the licenses for the same movie, but in different countries. So Studio A will own the US license, Studio B will own the French license, and Studio C will own the Asian licenses. So it's it's a mess to work with everybody to convince the whole world to work with us. But that's the end goal is that, because that's the point of VR, right? Is to be able to bring people across different countries to all hang out together in the same place at the same time and watch something together. That's the promise of VR. We haven't fully delivered on that over the past year, but in a month or two, we will be in a lot more countries. And we will, including some of the movies we already have. And we will probably be, let's see, what's the number? We only have something like 20, 25 3D movies right now today. Most of the rest of the stuff is all 2D. And we will be 5xing the number of 3D movies we have by the end of the year. So before Christmas, you're going to be able to watch a ton more 3D movies, including the ones that are in your minds right now. And the countries that you're thinking of, UK, Belgium, they're also going to get these movies now.
Wait, so what movie is in your mind, Rowdy, right now? What was the movie that was in your mind?
Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings. Mike, what was your movie?
I really want to see Tenet, of course. I want to see Tenet.
I know. For some reason, when you said movies that are in...
James Bond, we also said,
James Bond. I know. I was just thinking about the Muppet Show for some reason.
Oh wow! Yeah, of course.
I don't know why. It's weird.
It's nice to have Lord of the Rings and the Muppet Show.
So those are the movies that are coming. We knew it.
But you're. I said this before about big screen. You're paving the way. You're doing something completely unique and new that no one's ever done before. And I think that's the challenge. Like you say, approaching movie studios that don't know who you are, don't really maybe never have even tried VR before. And then convincing them that this is a platform for you and to bring their movies across to is incredible.
I definitely think it's a platform seller, because I've had multiple people, especially the older generation, that don't really know virtual reality yet. But I've had a couple of people already be completely stunned by the mere concept of watching a movie together. That you can, for example, say someone who lives in another country, you could still meet up and say we can watch something together. And just that concept for especially for the older generation has been like mind-blowing. So wait, like they're in a different country, but we can sit next to each other in the same hall, and we can watch the same thing, and we can talk about that. You say, yeah, you can. I've even had a colleague of mine who had a friend whose wife lived for a year abroad, and they were looking for different ways in order to remain contact. So they were using Zoom and Skype, but none of it was really like as social as virtual reality was. So they both bought, and these people were over 50, 60 years old. They both bought like, I think the Oculus Go headset, just to have like, some kind of way of interaction with each other in a virtual format, which I think is an awesome concept. And this is something that Bigscreen does really well in terms of party formation and being together.
Does Bigscreen still run on Go?
As of today, yes. But within the next month or so, we kind of hinted that by August we were going to end Go support. We've tried to stretch it as long as we can. But the problem is the latest Oculus SDKs, that the tools that the developers use to make our apps, they no longer support the Go already. So if we want to use the latest stuff in order to make Quest 2 better, for example,
right,
we can't support the Go because the platform itself doesn't support
like
the Go. And by the end of the year, we won't even be able to upload new apps to the store. Like if we have a new version coming out with new servers and whatnot, it's impossible to even update the app.
So that's interesting, because I know like Go is nowadays like a topic that everyone's like, yeah, it's a dead topic, so whatever. But like I'm sure you had a lot of people watching stuff in Bigscreen and still are. And do you think it's fair that they cut the cord? How long is it ago? Like when did they do this again?
4 months, 3 months.
Yeah. Of course, now with the Quest 2, it makes more sense, but still, like I thought this Go could have had a longer run for sure.
It makes sense, I think, from a business standpoint. I think like strategically, it's super smart that they've cut their lines down from like Rift, Go, Gear, Quest to just Quest. But from a consumer perspective, it's not that great. Like I know a ton of people who ended up buying Go's, especially because the prices were really affordable. And not a lot of people wanted to spend the extra money to have 6-stop tracking because they were playing games. They didn't need the touch controller. So it definitely satisfied like a portion of the market. And it kind of sucks that their entire device is just bricked now, right? Like there's basically nothing you can do with this $100 brick that you have. That sucks from a consumer perspective, and it's not super great for building consumer trust. It's like Facebook makes plenty of money. They don't really need to even, do you really need to do that to consumers and like get every dollar you can and then just like kill the platform within? That's not great.
Well, now
I get why they did.
Yeah, no, I see. Now that Go is gone, and now we'll see how long it will take before the Quest 1 is like completely bricked.
I think Quest, at least, it will have a long lifespan, right? Because there's going to be Quest 2, there's going to be Quest 3, and I think a brilliant move that Oculus has done here is to make sure that most of or all of the Quest 2 apps also work on Quest. So it's really hard when you have millions of devices if half of them can't even run the latest stuff that's coming out and you just bought it a year ago or something. That would really hurt the consumer. So I think Facebook's kind of been able to make some hard business decisions, which might have hurt consumers for sure. But overall, I think it's a brilliant move. It's going to be best for the long term.
What we've seen already is that studios are optimizing their games for Quest 2 specific versions. Like Arizona Sunshine, Super Hot. All these great games are getting like optimized versions for Quest 2. Can we expect that with Bigscreen as well? That there'll be an optimized version for Quest 2 that's separate from Quest 1?
Yeah, of course. I mean, we've been doing this even on Quest because Quest was more optimized and had more features than our Go version. So we always have like multiple tiers of capabilities that each each platform is going to be able to have. Similarly, like with PlayStation, for example, you can imagine that it'll be somewhere between the Oculus Go and the PC VR version of Bigscreen in terms of capability, visual fidelity, features that are available. But at the end of the day, we want to try and make it almost identical across all platforms if we can. Give people as much horsepower and capability.
So maybe we should talk about like some of the problems that you faced, like because I think the problems that you're facing nowadays are different from the problems that you were facing like a few years ago, right? you had the problems of optimizing for Quest, and now you've like almost like got that nailed. You're like, okay, I think we've made it. Now we've got to get the movie studios on board. Okay, now we've got that nailed, and now you've got this other problem. And it seems like, from I read your tweet, and it's heartbreaking to see this kind of stuff. And it's like the Oculus want to take a 30% cut of like your movie revenue share, right? Which I kind of understand from they're offering the platform, and they take a cut, I'm sure, of like game sales. I don't know if it's like a standard 30% across the board or how that works. But they want to take 30% off the movie studio like ticket prices, right? And I think you were saying that would pretty much strip any profits that you were going to make off any ticket sales. But then I don't know how this came about, but apps like Fandango and Netflix weren't subject to the same percentages, or they were able to offer purchases offline, not through the Oculus in-app purchase system, which then made that they weren't subject to the 30% revenue share. So maybe you can explain that and explain why that is a big deal for Bigscreen going forward.
So we'll take a step back away from the 30% number itself, because this is pretty different from something like what Epic and Apple are fighting about. Right. It's remarkably different. Okay. So what we are dealing with is Facebook from the very beginning has been pretty clear that they want to build and own the VR AR platform of the future, because that's really important for their like long-term relevance in the world, to own the next computing platform right from the beginning. They've also been pretty clear that they want to own all the software that people use as well, right? Like social experiences. Like it'd be weird if Facebook doesn't even own the best social experiences on their own platform. So they obviously want to own productivity, like they showed off the Infinite Office a couple of weeks ago. They want to own social gaming if they can, because they built out Facebook Horizons, which is remarkably similar to Rec Room. They've been constantly trying to do social software as well. They have Oculus TV, as you've mentioned before, which is trying to bring movies and TV into VR. And they have Oculus Venues for 360 stuff and shows. So they clearly want to own this entire space, which is totally fine. Like there should be lots of competition. I'm glad to see them investing in VR. That's excellent to see kind of all that effort being poured in. I'll leave that factoid right over there. Yeah. The other factoid, we can all agree with that. With the movie industry and how does digital video distribution even work? When you buy something like cosmetics in Fortnite, artists at Epic have to create that asset, but that's it. Like they get to then sell it for $10 or whatever, and they just make all the money from that. So if they have to give 30% of that to the platform owner who built the entire infrastructure, who built the headsets, who built the app store, who dealt with refunds and the consumer kind of transaction, and provided you with that distribution, right? Because when Apple gives Epic the ability to just directly charge the consumer's card, the consumer didn't have to like input a credit card or anything like that. There's a lot of trust. There's this huge user base on the app store. And the same is true in VR, right? Like Facebook is pouring in billions of dollars to build a Quest and to create this user base for VR and all of that. So I don't think there's a big deal necessarily with platform owners charging a fee for in-app purchasing or just for processing payments. It's not free to process these transactions. It costs real money to even charge a credit card.
Right.
That's okay. The problem is the movie industry, because the movies are very different from something like cosmetics. And for really, really old movies, like stuff made 20, 30 years ago, like 60% of the transaction, maybe 65 or 50%, like something in that ballpark of the price that the consumer pays has to go to the movie studio because they own the movie. It's their content. They're a content creator here, right? They own that movie that they spent hundreds of millions of dollars to create in the first place. They ought to make money off of their own movie. It's not our content. We're just distributing their movies. So the majority of the money has to go to them. For newer movies, it tends to be about like 70% goes to the movie studio. And for the latest stuff, you mean like stuff like Tenet or any of the movies this year where these are movies that are coming right to the home because of quarantine. They're not even in theaters.
Like Invisible Man, for example.
Exactly. Those are like $10 or $15 or $20 movies. And the studios need 80% of that. Wow. Which also kind of makes sense because they're making no money now from theaters because that's gone. And these are big budget, high value movies. Everybody wants to see the movie as soon as it comes out onto digital. So they want 80% of that. And none of this is private information. Like, this is just how the industry works. Everybody online in this world knows about these numbers. I'm not going to share anything confidential here.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, no, we appreciate that.
So let's do the math here. 80% of a movie and the transaction price has to go to the content creator, which is a movie studio.
Okay.
If you purchase that movie through the Oculus in-app purchasing system, if you open up Bigscreen through the Oculus store and you rented that movie through the Oculus store, Oculus demands 30% of that. So 80% plus 30% is 110%, which means that already we're losing money. Let's not forget that streaming these movies, we're streaming them from our servers, which means we have massive bandwidth costs. And as a tiny company, we don't get the good deals on prices because our volume is just so low that we pay a ton of money for every single movie just to stream it to our customers. And on top of that, we have a business to run, right? Like, we have 10 people on the staff, like, we have expenses too. So already we are deep in the hole. And that's not even to mention the license fees to even work with the studios in the first place.
It's not like you can charge for like going to the toilet or like charging for like the popcorn in the studios.
Yeah.
But at the same time,
don't put bad ideas in my mind, because
but at the same time, like, I completely understand what it is, but I do find it completely ridiculous that from that point of view that you need to pay 80% to a movie studio while you also need to pay the licensing fees to get the movies, because it's a virtual platform. Because those kind of percentages, they are obviously based on like, the digital platform, like for example, Netflix or Amazon, or going to the movie theaters, where they have a lot of other ways of making money from their specific thing. Because they have, for example, with Netflix, you have a licensing fee. With Amazon Prime, you have a licensing fee. Movie studios can charge for the toilet, can charge for popcorn. But all of that is not really, present in Bigscreen, because it's a virtual reality free application. So shouldn't like you also be trying to find like better rates in that kind of perspective? Because 80% is a ridiculous amount to give away if you can't return on that with a licensing fee or whatever.
It's actually it is okay in my opinion, because at the end of the day, it's their content and we are just helping them make more money through another revenue stream. You look at iTunes and YouTube and other places where you can rent a movie for a specific price. It's the exact same structure. We have the exact same prices as YouTube and iTunes. The exact same price. So pretty much the exact same percentages also go to the creators. And YouTube and iTunes don't, make money through a subscription or something else like that either. So from Netflix,
we had regarding that.
When you have a subscription like Netflix or Amazon Prime, they don't pay 70% and 50%. They actually pay something like, we're going to buy this entire movie exclusively for Netflix, and we're going to pay like $20 million for it. We're going to license all of Friends or The Office or whatever, and we're going to pay $500 million for licensing that entire thing. So they don't have to give another dime beyond that $500 million, but then they'll make it up through the subscription itself. Rentals is just a very different category. And iTunes is a massive business, despite still having to pay studios a percentage of every single rental. It's possible to make a huge business just off of movie rentals alone.
So what, like the percentages that you're talking about here make sense in a way. It sounds all fair, but how do you explain the 30% that Oculus or Facebook is charging in this case? Because, you were just talking about the movie industry. To me, that sounds like fair. I mean, I'm a content creator myself. I would also give myself a very high percentage for what I made. But what about the 30%? What is that based on the from Facebook?
So 30% makes a lot of sense for broadly gaming content, where, if it's something like a cosmetic, right? Epic is the content creator of that cosmetic asset. So 30% goes to the distributor, which in this case is Oculus for, distributing that video game that you just bought. And 30% of that goes to Oculus, and 70% stays with the content creator, like Population One. That seems actually kind of fair. The content creator gets about 70%, and the distributor gets 30%.
So you're saying
it would make
that
sense if Facebook would charge 30% of the profit that you're making on that movie. That would make sense.
Sure. But in this case, like it's a category of digital goods, even on Apple, on the App Store or on any platform out there in the world. Like your smart TV, if you go right now and open up your Samsung TV and rent a movie from there, your TV isn't taking 30%, and then like any movie rental service on there, they're the distributor.
So they treat Bigscreen as a game basically, and they don't have a model yet for apps that do movies.
Not true. And this is the issue.
Okay.
They do have. This is where things start to get a little messy. They do have a model because they know how this industry works. If you want to have movies in VR, which I think we can all agree there is a future potential for this industry. It is important for VR to have this type of content. Gaming content is huge in VR today, but someone should be able to build a movie business in VR too. It's important for the future. Facebook knows that, which is why they have Oculus TV. And Oculus TV is their first party application that they're building themselves. The content within Oculus TV, one of the providers is Fandango. And Fandango also rents movies at the same price that we do. But Facebook knows that there is no way you're getting Fandango onto their platform. If Facebook demands 30% of every transaction from Fandango, they would make no money. They'd lose money.
Right.
So in order to allow media platforms like Fandango to exist inside Oculus TV, inside their first party application, they have a special deal that says, these types of applications, they are allowed to process credit cards and do a movie rental, for example, and not give any 30% or anything. It doesn't even use Oculus in-app purchasing.
Right.
If you look at Netflix right now on Oculus TV, you don't have to pay 30% Oculus and subscribe through there. You go to the Netflix website, you subscribe, and you're set. Same thing with
so is that something that you could do as well? Because you mentioned before as well that you have a website. Could you circumvent that and, for example, say, because we had asked that question in the chat, like if I purchase from the Bigscreen website, can we circumvent that 30% cost fee that you need to pay?
Yes, you absolutely can, and that's the only way that we don't have to pay 30% is through that. The problem is Oculus has forced us and is telling us you must use Oculus in-app purchasing or we will kick you off the store.
Oh, wow.
Right. They didn't say we will kick you off the store. They wouldn't use such harsh words. The legal version is in order to, but you must follow the terms of service.
Right, right. And I think I remember previously on PC, right, on Steam, like you were selling movie tickets through your website, weren't you? Prior, like on Steam, I remember that.
So Steam we're now also having the same issue with Valve. Right. And Valve doesn't have any first-party movie content, and Valve is strictly focused on gaming. So again, we're getting hit with gaming licensing terms, and they're forcing us now to figure out, like, well, sorry, like you want to be on Steam, you got to do this.
Right. So that's
we're again back into the corner.
So that system has changed now as well. So whereas previously that was potentially an option, even on just the PC side, Valve are also shutting the door on that.
We're discussing that with Valve right now, and they're great people to work with. They don't yell at us. They don't threaten us. They don't throw words like lawyers are now involved or any of this weird stuff.
So
Valve's been really friendly.
How about bringing it only to SideQuest for watching movies at least?
It would be an interesting solution. I'd be open to considering and thinking about that. But ultimately, like, developers shouldn't have to do this, right? Like, why can't we have
of course, no. But since, like, it's like you said, like, you're losing money on every time someone purchases a ticket, that also doesn't make sense. So maybe, I don't know, if they're playing hardball, then maybe it might not be like
the thing is
the weirdest decision to actually make that known in the application for everyone who uses it, because there's a ton of people using the application for watching movies. Maybe making the process of like integrating that into SideQuest and like having people convert to that platform, even though you'll lose a percentage of the market, of course, that will normally be access to do it in the long run. Because let's be fair, like we all know that Facebook is developing their own thing in order to probably overtake you or to shove you aside completely, which is something that I think none of us here wants, and especially not the people using it, because it's a brilliant application. So maybe if you do that integration already now and get those people converted to the SideQuest platform, and that hopefully can coexist, because that's also a question.
As Jamie said in chat, until Facebook kills SideQuest.
Well, that's
right?
the thing.
So,
they're gonna. The thing is, it's a matter of time. They're gonna own it, and then use all of the resources and create something themselves and then close it down. So what you're saying is that Bigscreen can technically not, well, technically it can, but it can basically not live next door like Oculus TV, because Oculus TV needs to, like, all the consumers that use the Quest should go to Oculus TV and not Bigscreen. Because it kind of sounds like, listen, you know,
right?
Yeah, true.
It's right on your dashboard. You don't even need to do anything. It's right there.
But it's like, what's like usually in just the mainstream scene, I use Netflix and I use Disney Plus and I use some other stuff, and of course every company does their own thing. But on this platform that Facebook created, it's like it can't coexist. Where Bigscreen is not, you shouldn't be going there. It's like you should go to this, and we do not prefer you to go to somewhere else.
But I really wonder how that conflicts with, like, you know, the laws that we have, especially in Europe, regarding you know, fair competition on the market. And I'm sure that, you know, some similar things exist in the US as well. I don't think that Facebook can continue in the way that they're overpowering this, even though they've been doing this for a while. But eventually, you know, as they get big enough, the government will step into this. That you can't be a competitive. You can't just buy up all of the competition and squash all the rest of the competition just to make sure that your own platform succeeds, even if you own the platform. I really don't think that, you know, I think there's some legal background. Of course, you're probably much better versed in this than I am, Darshan. But like, for me, this feels a lot like the thing is, if a company gets too powerful, then it should be broken up. That's how it's always been. And I don't see a way out of that.
This is probably like think back to Microsoft and Windows and the browser. When the early days, Microsoft did try some shady stuff. Basically say Internet Explorer is the only thing you need. Like, don't
Internet Explorer.
You don't install anything. And this is kind of like that, except payments are involved, money is involved. There are ways to squash the competitor and make it financially impossible for them to even exist. Because imagine if every time you want to use Google Chrome or Firefox or something, you have to actually pay Microsoft. Like, if Google had some sort of business model with Chrome, such that anytime someone even tried to use it, they actually have to pay Microsoft, and Internet Explorer keeps winning, right?
But I think all you're really asking for here is the opportunity to handle the payments on your own, right? Like, or a fair enough deal from them that they process it, but it's on par with other media deals that they've got already established. Right.
All we're asking for is very specific when it comes to movies alone. Like, eventually, I mentioned this earlier in the podcast, like we're gonna get into gaming and productivity.
Sure.
We'll have subscription services for like offices and other different categories. And for those things, we're more than happy to give 30% or some transaction fee.
But I think it's very obvious that Facebook doesn't care about that 30%. You know, the only reason they're doing this is in order to keep you down.
I think it's a bit of both. I think they're an extremely competitive company. They're probably one of the most ruthless and best competitors in the world in terms of just succeeding. They're dominating because they're smart people. At the same time, 30% is important to them because they want to own the app store of VR. And you look at the Quest. The Quest is $299, not because the hardware is so cheap to make. The Quest is $299 because Facebook is wrapping every single Quest in a $100 bill. You just don't see it, but it is subsidized, which is also why you don't see any hardware companies bringing anything like the Quest to the market, because nobody else can afford to do that, right? Like, think about it. If Facebook sells 5 million Quests and each one of them is subsidized by $100, making $100 cheaper.
Yeah.
What kind of company in the world has, what is that? $500 million to just be like, $500 million. Let's make everything cheaper for everybody. Facebook's got to make that back up with software sales, right? Like, so crush the market, own everybody, scare off all the competitors in the ecosystem, so you have the dominant VR platform, and make it more affordable to the consumer. The legality of that is questionable in terms of subsidizing it, but at least from a consumer standpoint, this means that it's affordable for us, right? We get a $300 headset, which is great. Facebook now needs to make that back up with 30%, which is why I think it's really important.
For the consumer,
yeah, I didn't mean that that the 30% in general is not important, but what I'm meaning is they don't really care about making that 30% of that movie ticket that is sold specifically, but they're doing that in order to make sure that when they come with their own platform, which they will or they're already doing, that they can make it cheaper than yours, and they'll just say, oh, there is competition, we can just offer it cheaper, and then it's over.
There's a big question in my mind with what is Facebook trying to achieve here, and over and over I'm coming to realize I don't think Facebook's actually building a developer platform here. Go and talk to any of the non-gaming VR developers or any of the developers that Facebook hasn't been funding. Mm-hmm. Not a lot of people are happy, and you got to wonder why. And we're just getting kind of pushed aside and kind of yelled at, and it's not a great ecosystem, because I don't think Facebook needs developers for the Quest, because they're just going to buy up all the studios and make some of the best content in the world, like Beat Saber and whatnot. And if you can make the best content in the world, the best games, some really good software experiences, and they're all available out of the box, why do you even need developers on your platform? If developers were important, you would think, as someone who's been in VR for 6 years, and I see Guy in the chat, he's been in VR for 6, 7, maybe 8 years, right? But there's plenty of people in chat right now who are VR developers who've been developing software full time for so much of our lives for the Oculus platform. Not a single person from Oculus has ever even said thank you. Thank you for being there from the start. Thank you for being one of the developers that has been busting your asses and pouring your life into this. We wouldn't be here without you. If anything, it's the exact opposite that I hear, which is they wouldn't use the words be grateful, but it's basically look, this wouldn't exist if we didn't pour billions of dollars in. So
and what you're saying there, a little bit of respect towards what you made is nice too. It's a great motivation, and if that isn't there, that's something you're missing too, because you said you created Bigscreen in 2016, or it went live, and that was when the consumer launch happened of VR headsets. So you are one of the people who created a baseline for the VR industry for, let's say, movie experiences. And if you're then years later, they see the potential of Bigscreen and they support it in some way. But that's what I felt with Key 2 and also other apps. Same with Rec Room. It's they let you create it for them. They learn from it, and then they're ready to make their own thing. And that's something that is super dangerous, but also smart from their side to be doing that. So you're basically doing the work for them, and they turn and twist it in a way that they can in the end get away with it and kind of steal your idea. And
So
it's
in the meantime,
painful. And kind of depressing if you think about it. We pour our lives into creating this stuff, and the platform doesn't actually care.
And the consumer and the consumer also doesn't necessarily care.
None of this is obvious, because at the end of the day, consumers want the best possible experience, and the underlying issues. Many people think that Facebook makes what we make, right? They don't know who makes the software necessarily on this device, or that developers are even a concept, or why that matters. At the end of the day, the best experience is all they really care about, which is fair. I get that. I just want a platform that enables that to happen, right? That the best software does win, that consumers are given lots of choice and lots of competition. That's not there.
I think we should round it up a little bit by sort of asking how can this be resolved? You're sort of almost halfway through answering the question. I think how to resolve this moving forward. Whether it's a case of they give you the same sort of deal that they've offered to Fandango in terms of movie content, or you just they allow you to switch your payment method to a completely off Oculus Store system, which then they don't manage, which then they don't necessarily demand to take that 30%. Then what's the kind of ideal solution you see in your mind going forward to resolve it? Because there's got to be some sort of resolution, right?
Yeah, we have one simple ask. It's just treat us fairly, the exact same way that you treat any other media company for just the media products that we sell.
Yeah,
that's it. I don't need a thank you. I don't need an apology. Nothing like that. But maybe also don't yell at me, right? Maybe also occasionally be nice to developers. Maybe I'm asking for too much there, but honestly,
just make it fair.
Thank you.
So just make it fair. Yeah. So, of course we appreciate you all. Of course we do.
So I have one more question. Do you think that Bigscreen will still be on the Facebook platform in 5 years?
I mean, I would actually hope so, in the sense that
I hope so too. But is it
really healthy ecosystem, right? Like I want 10 different companies with all their different headsets with different capabilities, like a really high-end gaming one, really like affordable one, and the whole spectrum. And I want Bigscreen to be on all of them, right? Because if you get a headset, regardless of what it is, you chose to buy that headset as a consumer, you should be able to hang out with anybody on any other headset. And we want to be one of the platforms that offers that social capability.
I think
let
as
me
well,
ask
like,
you a quick question.
Sorry, go on, Rowdy.
Yeah, let me ask you a quick question. Like, is there, or does that break the terms of service as well? Is there a way if an incredibly smart person makes kind of like an overlay on the current OS platform? Like, for example, like when you buy a laptop, you can put a software on there. You can put an operating system on there, like for example Linux or Mac OS or being it Windows. If someone really smart and really intelligent would make a competitive platform for Oculus, would that break the terms of services if they would put that on the Oculus Quest?
On the Quest, I believe it would. I believe that's basically like rooting a device to run anything you want on it. That would absolutely break the terms of service, like we get kicked off, like et cetera, et cetera. That's not a great direction to go in, unfortunately, because the platforms we work with today are so different from the platforms from the early 2000s, where you could, as a consumer, decide to put whatever software you want on there. These devices are all completely locked down, so there's no alternative. And SideQuest is really the only half alternative we have today. And Facebook has pointed out that they're coming out with their own store, like kind of an experimental store that you can submit stuff to, but it has limits. Like you can't charge stuff or like you can't have too many users on it. So you can never build like a big business there. And you still have to conform to their store policies and all that.
I think to a certain degree, you know, like Bigscreen is fortunate in that it's just not about just movies. You know, like if you know, like worst case scenario, if this just isn't a viable business option anymore, like, you know, you have other avenues you can go down. You've got this amazing social experience still. You can still watch user-made content or content from maybe like YouTube or whatever, and that's still a really compelling use case. And gaming together as well, streamed from a PC, again, a really compelling use case. So, you know, I think regardless of, you know, if it doesn't work out, which God forbid it does, you know, at least you've still got options, I think, as an application, you know, especially with like the productivity stuff that you're talking about as well. I just think that they would be missing out on a big opportunity to cut that opportunity off of getting these movie studios involved through the app. I think that would be a real shame.
It's like what Rowdy said. It's not really about the 30% because it's such small numbers today. It's more about ensuring that one day when VR does get really big, that we were able to build a business along the way. So
we'll I understand they want to be the best, and I understand, you know, they've invested so much money and time in research and development, and people don't necessarily understand that. And again, like you say, subsidizing hardware, you know, VR wouldn't be in the place that it is now without them. But I still think they should be looking after developers, number one, because developers, you know, you can have the best hardware in the world, but it's just essentially a brick without the best games or developers supporting it. And I think that's really what they should understand the value in their platform is right now. It's the content. You know, people don't buy a Quest because of hardware. They buy it because of the content. And right now it's not first-party content that is the appealing stuff for them to buy a headset. It's applications like Bigscreen, Virtual Desktop, and these indie sort of studios that have been scrappy from the beginning and now work their way up to create something really magical and that's, you know, offers value to consumers. So I think it's a real shame that to see you guys, especially, you know, Guy Godin as well from Virtual Desktop, being pushed around a little bit. And hopefully by talking about it, at least we can raise some awareness about it and maybe get people thinking like, is this the way forward?
Well, at least within the VR industry. At least in the VR industry. But as I said before, like consumers don't give a F, you know, it's a shame.
No, well, I just think it's important to create that awareness that, you know, these kind of like business practices are being performed, which is like I said already multiple times. I really question the legality of this kind of stuff. If you like creating competition in a market, healthy competition should always be there. And I don't have the feeling that this is really happening. I don't think that any company, even if they own the platform, even if they own the hardware, are entitled to completely rule out any of the other developers. And that's just not right. That's not how this works. That's not how VR will succeed.
Like pick to either build a developer platform or build just a pure network where it's just your content. Like if you were to build a device where the only thing available on the device was your own content on it, you know what? It's your headset. You're the one that made it. Like, if you want only your thing on there, great. But then don't also have developers. Like, don't allow even a single developer on your platform, and set the kind of stage of saying we have a developer platform, anyone can make stuff for it. Kind of got to pick one or the other, because if you have that developer platform, kind of got to treat them with respect and allow competition, and not directly compete with all of them and set up finances that just don't make sense, and like force people to remove features so that you can have those features.
Well, this all sounds to me like let's just hope that the awareness of like talking about this, and also how Facebook treats developers in this case, will drive competition from other ends. Because that's what I see as the only solution, where other parties jump in too. That's how Epic came around. They said, like, listen, if you want to make a game and you want to put it on our store, we're going to lower the percentage of how much you need to pay. And that's how Epic Games is now making success too. So hopefully we see the same.
But it requires the hardware, and I think that's the stumbling block, you know. But, you know, we've always said that, you know, competition is healthy in the VR market space. You know, they do new competition, absolutely, but I think there's
especially
so far behind, though.
That's true. Especially after next week, let's pray to God we're going to get some competition.
But, you know, like we said, and Darshan said as well, you know, the Quest 2 is at a fantastic headset, fantastic price, and is great for consumers, but maybe not so great for developers that have been there from the beginning supporting these platforms. Yeah. But, you know, I think, you know, this is all we can do right now is talk about it and raise awareness. And I think that's why it's important to have devs on like Darshan to tell their story so that they can raise that awareness. I think let other people know what's going on. But certainly, you know, it'll be interesting to see if it's games also that suffer similar problems, whether it's just media consumption apps like Virtual Desktop.
Yeah, games you don't
seem to suffer.
You don't hear these stories about games just yet, right?
No.
But that's because I think the gaming scene is not so big in that sense, and there are also more out there. But
definitely seems to be productivity apps and these like kind of side apps.
But as Darshan said, they're more focused on social, right?
Yeah.
And games are not necessarily social.
Like, if I can paint a picture of where this might be in like 20, 30 years.
Sure.
Like, look at the Quest. It has 4 cameras on the front. These are today, they're just mono cameras. They don't see in color, but you can imagine like the Quest 3 or the Quest 4, those will be in color. So you'll be able to see the full world around you. What that also means is that the software running on these headsets will be able to see everything that's going on in your world. So as this gets smaller and smaller and smaller, as it gets to the point where you're going to wear this almost the entire day, you're going to walk around your entire house with it, the software on these devices will be able to analyze everything about your living space. How big is your living space? What objects do you have? Do you have a cat? What furniture do you have? What things do you like to buy? What food do you normally eat? What products, like what brands do you prefer to have? Oh, you don't have a couch? Maybe you need a couch. What's your body looking like? Because these cameras point downwards too, so they're gonna see a lot of stuff, or not a lot of stuff.
Or not a lot.
But they're gonna know a lot. They're gonna know a lot, and the software on these devices then can do a lot more targeting and understanding of who you really are beyond any device that we have ever had in our lives, right? A phone does not know any of this. When you go to facebook.com and you post something on your wall, like, it doesn't know anything about your beer belly or anything, right?
I disagree with that, but I think that's a different discussion. I think that, you know, like we've said that already a couple of times, that with metadata, you know, the amount of information they can collect already now from just mere posting or IP addresses or location is enormous. And I think people really underestimate that. But I agree that with these kind of social VR platforms, that information will only get more accurate, more extensive, and just more in general. And that is a very scary thought.
So I'm not even thinking about this from a social VR standpoint as much as the operating system that runs on these devices.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
Big deep down, such that even if this device gets used for just gaming or something like that, it's still going to have all of these capabilities built in. So you can imagine what that gets used like in the future for any advertising company or social media company. Like, what can they do with
insurance companies?
Yeah, like why?
That's a scary thing.
I guess in my mind, like, Facebook's not in this in VR just because they want to build, you know, the next Nintendo Switch or something. Like, there's a much bigger battle being fought here, and it's worth spending $100 billion to win this battle at any cost. Because if you succeed here, I mean, this could be the most valuable company in the world because they would know everything about our life.
you.
So no Zucker card.
Credit
What was
card of
that?
the future.
Zucker card. So Mario Kart, but then
Zucker card.
That would be the
Card.
worst name ever.
I thought it was like a credit card.
Yeah, well,
Anyway, but yeah, no, I think it's great to have you on the show, Darshan. We've been in regular contact over the years. It's been great to see how Bigscreen has evolved. It's heartbreaking to see these stumbling blocks, but I really hope that somehow you overcome it. I'm sure you will. And I look forward to seeing the future of Bigscreen, and it's been a pleasure talking to you. But I think what we should do now is pass it over to Rowdy. Talk about some releases, some games, because we've got so many games coming out next week, obviously with the launch of the headset as well. Everyone's launching on launch day pretty much. So take it away, Rowdy. What have we got to look forward to?
I'll breeze through it since we're already quite a bit on. I picked out a few of the titles that indeed are going to be, but I'm going to start one of the titles that is not launching on the Quest, at least on October 13th. So this one is a PC VR one. I know that Zim would have loved to talk about this one, and something that he's probably played already multiple times because it's been on the Steam store, but it's now coming out of early access, and that is Panoptic. It's coming out on October 18th, and it's currently 40% off, so that brings it to $10.19. This is a tense 1v1 asymmetrical VR desktop game that pits a colossal overseer armed with a slow but devastating eye laser against a tiny dissident, being intent on destroying the overseer's energy orbs by mimicking the movement of others to remain undetected. Which I think is, we've all played these asymmetrical games before. There's quite a few of them. We tried them on Oculus Connect as well. It's a lot of fun, just a lot of fun. And then it's the Quest Onslaught that is beginning. It's Beat Saber multiplayer, October 13th. $29.99. That's what you get Beat Saber for. So players will now be able to battle up to 5 friends or random opponents. Unfortunately, Beat Saber multiplayer does not support cross-platform at launch, though the company does hope to eventually introduce cross-play between the Rift S and the Quest or the Quest 2.
I think this is the first update we're seeing that comes from Facebook and not from Beat Games themselves. I think because it's social, so but really interesting.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this one for sure.
I have to say as well, like all of the prices for the Quest 2, they're quite on the higher end, I would say. Like comparing it to like a little while ago, like you can see that there's a little bit of a change in like the pricing, I think, because this one is still $29.99.
But Rowdy man, it's $2.99, man. $2.99.
They need to give 30%, I guess, from that. So next up is Walking Dead, Saints and Sinners is coming to the Oculus Quest. Also, again, October 13th for $39.99. Wow. The Walking Dead, Saints and Sinners, we've all played it before on the Rift, and I know that Mike and I think Nate as well have played it on the Quest 2 already. It's a brilliant game. I think it's one of the best VR games out there, just in general, and the way that they brought it to the Oculus Quest is just amazing. For those who don't know what it is, it takes place in a walker-infested New Orleans where you must fight your way through the streets and negotiate with warring factions. You also have the Meat Grinder update, which challenges you to battle relentless waves of walkers, and it will be available on the Oculus Quest the coming week.
Yeah, that game is so great. They did a great job, Skydance Interactive, making this game playable on Quest. And, from what we've played so far, I don't even think it was optimized for Quest 2 at that point. No. But it works and plays really well. So I think everyone's going to really love this one. Yeah.
Then the next one, if you're into waifus flying around on broomsticks, then this is probably game of the year for you. You can take to the skies on a magical broom in this VR broom racing game based on the Little Witch Academia animes. Is anyone familiar with this, this series?
Yes,
of course. I knew it. I knew it was.
Yeah, no. I played this game and I was like, I need to watch this show. And I did for research purposes.
Right. It's available for $29.99. I find it a little bit again on the high end, because to me, I mean, if you look at the gameplay, it looks a little bit bland to me. But fans of the series like Nate might want to murder me right now for saying that.
Yeah, no, I hate you now.
Also for Mike, if you squint your eyes maybe a little bit, then with a little bit of imagination, you might think that you're in a Harry Potter game. So maybe.
Broomsticks, Harry Potter, bam.
Yeah, they also have something else added there, which is they mentioned experience the original episode of Little Witch Academia through something that is called VR storytelling. I have no idea what that
is. That's in there?
Yeah, apparently, yeah.
Okay.
Don't know what it is. Then next up, Res Infinite, coming to the Oculus Quest October 13th. I didn't find a price for it at launch date, at least, but I do know that the PC version of this is $24.99. So I'm guessing that it will probably be in that similar range. So if you're into ethereal beings flying around, but you despise broomsticks, then you're unlocked too. You experience 360 degrees of mind-blowing synesthesia as you blast your way through waves of enemies and massive transforming bosses, with your every move triggering colors and sounds that sync and blend to the beat of the legendary techno soundtrack of Res.
Wow, this so far, all the games that you mentioned, it sounds like you went to Amsterdam and something went wrong.
Yeah,
they're all a bit trippy for sure.
Don't wait till you hear the last one that I have up for you, because this one, Nate, this is. Oh, you already played it before. I know that.
What is it?
Oh, here we go. I know.
If there's one game that you'll want to see Nate play, considering seeing his legendary dance moves last week, it's got to be Space Channel 5. He's I think he played it on the PSVR.
I played it on the PSVR, right? And I also I also should say that I got paid to just dance on video. But I did enjoy it. It's a great game. It's a great game.
We also paid him last week to do the chair dance as well.
Yeah, we did. Actually.
Did you?
You've got to pay for these dance moves.
Oh, I need to check. Just one warning about this one, even though it looks funny and we're laughing about it, it's like so short that the moment you hit play, you already played it.
Okay.
Yeah, again, I looked up the price for this one as well. I didn't find it, but I do know that the PlayStation VR version is available for $24.99.
Wait.
And like Nate said, it's a dancing game in which you move to the beat to take down evil forces.
So can I say one thing? Like, the reason why you see all this Japanese stuff is because Facebook is also more focused on the Japanese market. So if you're just like, what the heck is going on? This is like mainly for the Japanese gamers.
Yeah. First time the Quest's going to be sold in Japan, so it's going to be really interesting.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, very cool indeed. But how long do you reckon Space Channel 5 is, roughly, Nathy, in terms of campaign?
I don't even remember. I think it was like 15 minutes or 20 minutes or so. I don't know. Like, I need to
less than an hour. Anyway.
I don't know.
Better
like
to buy a movie ticket.
Wait. I don't know anymore. Just like the only thing that I can think of is like you don't want to pay more than $10 for it. But
fair enough.
Look up the play time, because I don't know if 20 minutes was it, but I was like dancing like a star. You know, I was really good at it. So I don't know.
Go and check that video out if you want to see his moves. So that is the show this week. We ran on a little bit later than usual, but I think it was super interesting. It was worthwhile.
As usual, this is like standard.
This is standard now, yeah. It is. We're going
to
get 3-hour-long shows before you know it. But yeah, thank you again to Darshan for joining us. I think it's super insightful to have developers on and let us know what's going on behind the scenes. And I think it's really important to have these discussions.
And buy movie tickets through the website. Dang it.
Thanks for having me on, guys. It's been fun to chat and just kind of chat with all of you.
Yeah, it's great.
We can't do this. Like, we used to do this in person in Oculus Connect. And
wait, person? Oh, you mean something with planes that were flying to America and stuff?
Yeah. Like in a tube would show up.
And grabbing pizza together. We did that in San Francisco last year.
What is a San Francisco?
I think that's a different kind of VR app. It's like a little smellier, and
it's going to be bought out by Facebook.
The pizza is nicer though. The pizza is nicer in real life than it is in VR. But just a reminder, this is a weekly VR, AR, and MR talk show, live streamed every Saturday on YouTube and Twitch. The show goes live at 7 p.m. in Europe, 6 p.m. in the UK, 12 midday in Central US. Also, check out the audio version. It's available on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Spotify. Rowdy does a great job making sure that sounds beautiful for your ears, so go check that out. Hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. We surpassed 5,000 subscribers last week. Thank you very much again.
The play button is coming soon. Soon we can claim our play button.
Play button. Yeah. Enjoy your Quest 2s if they're arriving next week. Have a great time with them, and we look forward to hearing all your thoughts about it on next week's show. So let us know in the chat if you enjoy it or not. And Zim will be back with us as well next week. So until then, have a great week in VR, and bye-bye for now. Take care. See you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.